Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have guest Carole J. Obley. She's a spiritual medium, and she's the author of the book, I'm Still With You, True Stories of Healing of Grief through Spirit Communication. I just started reading the book. I actually really am enjoying it. And we've had a number of mediums on tonight, on the show before, and some take phone calls, some don't. She does want to do calls tonight, so we are going to do 3-minute readings tonight later in the show. There's some stipulations: no medical questions, no legal advice or legal questions, and keep it the 3 minutes with one specific question. So if you're going to call tonight, think about who do you want to try to communicate with. Get her to come through to her, and well, what's your question? Just get right down to it, because you get about 3 to 5 minutes per call. We want to try to get many people in, and there'll only be 2 lines open. I'll give those numbers out later, because we got to have Carole on the other line after the World Wide Web of Weird, and we do have a lot of weird to get to tonight. So much, every week, man, I'm having to cut something out. Sorry, I had a number of people send me the penis is washing up on a California beach fish. It didn't include that, but I did think it was funny and kind of disgusting. But there's so many stories I just have to cut out every week, and man, I try to give you the best and what I find the most interesting. So we got a lot to get to and a great guest, so let's get rolling into the show. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. We are streaming out for people listening on our Paranormal Soup radio network. We are a webcast. You can find us on Facebook or YouTube, where you can watch and, see us. But if you prefer to listen, I totally understand. I'm a radio listener too. I listen to a lot of different radio shows, so I get the listening audience, and I try to narrate as best as I can. And tonight, our guest, she won't be seeing anybody on video. She can't. I don't think she'll be looking at the chat rooms or anything like that. She's going to be on the phone line, and I've had mediums on before. They make that connection somehow through a phone line. I believe it. So be prepared tonight and call in later. We'll do it after the second commercial break tonight. We'll let you call in. I got my beautiful co-host Jamie D with me tonight. How you doing, Jamie?
Doing good, Jason. Thank you. I'm very excited to hear the readings later and see what she has for our callers.
I should have asked her during sound check if I didn't even ask her. I should have. We'll see. Maybe she'll do a little reading on one of us. They always seem to pick on you, Jamie. And from St. Augustine, Florida, we got Rob Archery himself. How you tonight, Rob? Oh, you're quiet.
Speaking to the microphone.
That's better. That's better. Rob's going to run the World Wide Web Weird, and we do have a lot of weird to get to. So let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web Weird, I figured I'd start with an ongoing story. We keep talking about the disclosure movement, and the government's coming out, and they're telling us that aliens are real. They're interested in it, or there's metamaterials. Wait, no, there's not. I don't know. Well, this article from Unexplained Mysteries, Pentagon in U-turn over a secretive UFO program. So they're kind of backtracking. For those, again, listening on our Paranormal Radio Network, we are a webcast. You can watch us on Facebook and YouTube. Please follow us. Please subscribe. And please share with your friends. Share the show out now, guys. Let your friends know we got the weird going on here, paranormal. But yes, this first article from Unexplained Mysteries, Pentagon in U-turn over secretive UFO program known as the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or AATIP. The top secret initiative, which reportedly aimed to investigate credible reports of UFOs, ran from 2007 to 2012. Now, though, the exact purpose of that secret program has been called into question courtesy of Pentagon spokeswoman Susan Gao, who recently spoke to Black Vault's John Greenwald Jr. According to Gao, neither AATIP nor its predecessor, Advanced Aerospace Weapon System Applications, I'm not going to get into the abbreviation of that, had anything to do with unidentified aerial phenomena. Neither, both those departments were UAP related. The purpose of and that's their new term, so UFO, UAP. The purpose of the AATIP was to investigate foreign advanced aerospace weapon systems applications with future technology projections over the next 40 years and to create a center of expertise on advanced aerospace technologies. This seems to contradict everything that we know about these projects and their intended purpose. The AATIP was originally founded at the request of former Senator UFO enthusiast Harry Reid and was reportedly aimed at investigating credible sightings of unidentified flying objects. Among these were reported U.S. military pilots, of course, the Tic Tac footage. The objects encountered during the U.S. Nimitz. If anyone says they have the answers, they're fooling themselves, Reid wrote. We don't know the answers, but we have plenty of evidence to support asking the questions. This is about science and national security. If America doesn't take the lead and answer these questions, others will. They have, and it's been going on for a long time. I'm not surprised by any of this, that the government's now backtracking, saying, no, nothing to see here. No, we weren't looking at unidentified. You notice in any of that, did they deny the existence of UFOs or unidentified? No. They just said, we're not interested. Nothing to see here, people.
Move along.
Move along. Well, while they move along, there are videos, that pop up and people see stuff. UFO, this one's been very viral. UFO film dropping fireballs over Arizona. Go ahead and play it while I talk here a little bit. Oh, well, no, go. It has audio, so hold on a second. Let me read a little bit of this. I love to watch the skies, said Carrie Burnett, who watched the spectacle with her fiance Doug Meyer. It was a cloudy night, and it had drizzled off and on. Regular planes have been flying by since we can see through the flight path of the airport. All of a sudden, I saw the bright glowing orange light. I thought it was a planet or a star at first, and then I realized, oh, that's close, and it's moving towards us. Then, boom, it started to drop what looked like orange fireballs or something that traveled a few seconds before they faded out. And this, like I said, this was Mesa, Arizona. Go ahead and play it. And I had to edit it so I can edit out their swearing.
I missed it. It just did another one. Hey, are they dropping the flu virus?
What in the fuck is that?
Hey, I thought I edited it. I missed that one. Whoops.
What?
What in the hell is that?
There was 4 there. Is that a comet? Guys, come here, look!
You might have to mute this. I thought I edited it out.
Blade, hurry! What is that? Is that? Babe, is that
I guess I missed the
comet?
beginning.
I don't know.
It is dropping stuff. Watch, guys. Do you see it? I'm recording.
Is that thing?
Yeah, watch that. And then it drops fireballs. Watch.
Dude, on Facebook Live.
Look at that. Do you see that?
Oh, whoa.
What?
When you hear the sound drop out, that's me cutting it because he's swearing.
Another one.
What is
No.
that?
I don't know what that is.
What? It looks like a plane. Is it? And we're like, is that dropping stuff? Like, what is
What?
that?
That thing.
Come here, look, Slade.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
You guys are all.
Now, of course, a lot of people are going to say it's flares, but
What is that?
I don't know what that is.
look how big they are compared to the object up there. They're about the same size of the object.
Yeah, I
Babe.
think flares.
Watch, Slade. It drops fireballs.
I don't know
Look,
what
see
that
that?
Dude, it's moving. What the?
Look, it's gone.
Holy shit.
Oh, I missed that one too.
Wow.
Whoops, sorry, audience.
Gone. Wait, it's still there. It's still there. Look at look.
What?
What? It's there again.
What?
Sorry, guys. I'm
is
trying
that?
To focus on this.
All right.
What?
And it flies off. You can, you know,
Gosh.
this is Unexplained Mysteries has this here, the video,
Going through the clouds.
the news story.
What is that?
Dropping shit though.
Well,
Oh my
it
god.
feels authentic as far as their
Oh yeah,
reactions.
I don't think it's shenanigans by anybody.
Yeah.
It could be military. Now this next one happened. I saw a video trying to say this happened. Oh, and this is related to a video that happened in I saw different places. No, this video they're relating it to does look a lot like it, but it's with the IR. It was in December 25th of 2004. It actually has a date up there to prove that. This was done by Long Beach Police in California on an IR. Now watch how this thing drips. Look. Now, they went to the military. The police did to find out if this was a military exercise. They were dropping flares. The military denied it. Didn't have any knowledge of any exercises going on or flares.
That looks
And,
like the same thing.
And you notice, though, what it's glowing hot. If you see aircraft on IR, they're usually black.
Yeah.
And the military
looks
going to
like
die.
the same thing.
The guy said he thought it was a balloon dropping stuff, flares or something, maybe a hot air balloon, because that would glow. The police, but it is just like their video, except that this is an IR.
The object, you can see the way it almost looks like if there was like butane or like something like
Burning
pushing-
and falling
yeah,
off.
Yeah.
And this thing just flies away on its own too. It just seems so, people are really comparing these two, and of course they're putting dates wrong and saying places that are wrong. That where it was, I saw some bad video connections to this, but I traced it down. I'm like, because it is just like it. And like I said, it's from December 25th, 2004.
The object
Long
just
Beach.
flies off. It doesn't just
Yeah.
drop.
No,
Huh.
just flies
That's-
off just like the other object did.
So that's couldn't be a drone either.
Right. Or a balloon, because it
Yeah.
flies off. And that's what the helicopter is. Maybe it's a balloon, but then it flew off, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, like a drone could fly off, but a drone wouldn't glow like, wouldn't be like a big
Hmm.
ball of fire.
Right, exactly. Unless they had a lot of LED lights on it, maybe. They're giving off enough heat that it would come off like that. I don't know.
But in the the first video you showed,
I'm not an expert. I don't know. But it seems really weird. And like I said, excuse me. Wow, geez. Go watch any IR footage of planes or jets or helicopters. Are black usually that I've seen. You know, it's because they're cold.
2004, there wouldn't drone
Or
technology.
thermal. I mean, not IR. I say IR. Sorry, thermal camera. I said IR several times. I meant thermal. But they'll be black.
Yeah, in 2004.
See, there it goes, flying off.
Drone technology wasn't really happening.
No, it wouldn't have been a drone in 2004 like that. No, maybe this one they just saw was something like that, but I don't know. But it was growing pretty bright. But look, man, I am really tongue tied again. Okay, well, let's move on before we run out of time. All right. And you know, the military, you know, oh, nothing to see, you know, no, nothing going on. And you hear all the stories about Antarctica. And I thought this was interesting. Is Chilean plane en route to Antarctica disappears with 38 on board. A military plane with 38 people on board has disappeared en route to Antarctica. Chile's Air Force says a C-130 Hercules transport aircraft took off from the Punta Arenas. I probably butchered that. Sorry. And they lost contact. Left at 16:55 local time, military time, and they lost contact about 2 hours later, an hour later. Those missing include 17 crew and 21 passengers. They were traveling to provide logistical support to a military base on Antarctica's King George Island. A search and rescue mission is underway. What do we know of the disappearances? Air Force General Eduardo Mascaria, I totally butcher that, I'm sure, told local media that the plane did not activate any distress signals. He said the plane, whose pilot had extensive experience, might have been forced to touch down on water. Oh my God, what a nightmare that would, be. Imagine, like, we're going down, people, over the cold ocean. An Air Force statement said that the plane was about 450 miles into a 770-mile journey when contact was lost, placing it within the Drake Passage. The Air Force published a map. That's what we got up, a picture here, of the plane's last known location on Twitter. The Dark Passage is a body of water connecting the South Atlantic and South Pacific Oceans and is known for treacherous weather conditions. But Chile's Air Force said local weather was good at the time of the plane's disappearance. It's also said that the plane would have had enough fuel to keep airborne for another 40 minutes. 3 passengers were Chilean soldiers. 2 were civilians employed by engineering construction firms who were going to carry out at the military base. 1 was a student of the Magallanes University, and the remaining 15 passengers were members of the Air Force, an official said. They have a rescue effort going on right now. As of last I checked, they still have not found anything unless I missed something before the show. But all this stuff you see, I see all the articles and everybody saying that what's going on in Antarctica and a missing plane. They're going to be looking. It's military, so there's going to be an extensive search for this. I want to know why it's so restricted to go there, but this could be the answer because you might die trying to get there.
Yeah.
They say it's restricted. Well, this might be why. I don't know. Or is there something afoot? Is there, did this plane disappear under mysterious circumstances? I don't know.
And how come, like the other Malaysia planes and other planes that have vanished, how come those are just can't find anything out about them at all?
Because it's over the ocean, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just, they're still arguing about over Amelia Earhart, If we found her. No, we haven't. No, we found her. No, we haven't. So, all right, let's move on. Speaking of Antarctica, this next article I find really interesting. Deepest point on continental Earth discovered. Scientists have identified an enormous land-based canyon that descends 11,500 feet beneath the sea level. When it comes to seeking out deepest places on our planet, the bottom of the sea, and particularly the Mariana Trench, is typically the first place that springs to mind. The most recent discovery, however, is a canyon, which descends 35 kilometers below sea level, isn't situated on the ocean floor at all, but on the continental of Antarctica, part of our planet that has long remained challenging to fully explore, as we just talked about how to get there. The discovery is visible on detailed new map of the southern polar region, which is created over the course of 6 years. This is undoubtedly the most accurate portrait of yet what lies beneath Antarctica's ice sheet. What makes me think of anybody's classic Art Bell fans, they used to play this on Art Bell quite a bit, was the Sounds of Hell. From they dug down into Siberia or something like that. Some scientists and they dug, I think, that far down. I don't know. They dug, I was 1,500 feet. I don't know. They dug down far, and then you hear the sounds of hell that they supposedly recorded. I'm sure it was a bunch of hokey, but who knows? But that's what I thought of when I saw this. The Sounds of Hell from Art Bell. Like, what are they? Did they take microphones down there? I mean, have they gone down there? Aliens. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Number 5, there's another one of these stories. Again, we talked about this last week, and we got another one. This one's from Phantom Monsters. We had one from Singular 14. I think we had another one from Phantoms and Monsters last week. But another winged gargoyle observed, this time in Racine, Wisconsin. This is the person's, statement on the website. I recently received a telephone call from a witness, CM, as their initials, who recently had an encounter with what he described as a gargoyle. CM was driving home from work at 1:20 a.m. during the last week of September 2019. He left Kenosha, Wisconsin, and drove north on Route 31 towards his home in Racine. He got off at North Green Bay Road and drove towards Route 38. He soon noticed a tall, dark, winged entity, which he referred to as a gargoyle, near the Root River overpass. He described the being as 6 feet humanoid with bat-like wings extending from its back. It was very dark in color. When his headlights hit the being, the wings unfurled and it quickly ascended into the air. The body was thin and the head was somewhat small in comparison. There was a distinct eye shine from the reddish tint. CM believes that this being was eating roadkill. CM was very insistent that a vehicle far ahead of him hit the brakes about the same time he observed the creature. CM believes that there's a possibility that another similar winged entity may have been present further down the road. It'd be great if they got another witness to come forward on that. But it was in Florida, I think, was last week's World Wide Web of Weird. We had a lady who saw, she only saw it for a few seconds,
Like
very quick. Yeah, and there's the guy at the saw a bat-like creature at the O'Hare Airport. I think that was a Singular 14 article. So what's up? Why are people seeing winged creatures? This was back in September, he said. Yeah, September of this year. But there's these stories are coming out. Is it legit, or is it just somebody on a keyboard making up a story? Or I don't know. But why are we getting these winged creatures? We opened a portal. CERN. I don't know.
That's it.
Blame CERN. You know what it reminds me of? And there's a Doctor Who episode from the revamp Doctor Who, the very first season. I know, I'm a geek. And in it, there's the the doctor and his companion Rose. And Rose, they travel back, and she wants to see her father who died. And of course, she goes and prevents his death, changing and altering things, and making a paradox. And when the paradox happens, these like gargoyle, like bat, like creatures come down and start eating the town and start eating everybody, because there's a wound in time, is what the doctor says. And that's what I always think of when I hear these gargoyle stories. You know, maybe it's a time travel. CERN. Blame CERN. All right. So this next one, I'm not going to show the video because it's Travel Channel. I'm sure they would have a fit if I did. But you know, there's the Bigfoot show coming out. My mom watches a lot. I don't get Travel Channel. I don't get cable at all. I cut my cable. But I've been hearing about this new Bigfoot show that's coming out. My mom seemed kind of disappointed in if it's the same show she was telling me about the other night. Exhibition Bigfoot reveals new video evidence. A team of TV Bigfoot hunters have released a video clip of an unidentified creature picked up on thermal camera. And if you go to Travel Channel, you can find the very short, like 11-second video clip of this. The new Travel Channel series, which premiered on December 8th, follows the efforts of a Bigfoot investigation team as they search for evidence in a 90,000-acre hot zone in Central Oregon. The group consists of an actor, producer Bryce Johnson, veteran primatologist Miriam Mayer, and Bigfoot researcher Ronnie LeBlanc and Russell Accord. During the filming of the first episode, they managed to capture thermal footage of a sizable creature moving around in the distance, although it is impossible to say for sure what it could be. When we were in the field, we were able to capture something on video that fits the description of a large ape, said Mayer. Very big and moving in an ape-like, if not bipedal fashion. It does look like that. You know, if you watch the video, it does look like it's something with shoulders and that moving around, but it's so hard to tell on thermal that far away. It could be a moose. I don't know. And they keep making these Bigfoot shows, and everybody's going, well, they still haven't found Bigfoot. You know, they never do. I mean, I don't know. You think with enough people and production and money that they will, or can we trust it if they do? I don't trust Hollywood. I really don't. You know, I don't know. It's like I want to see the money get behind it. I want to see a TV production, a TV show get out there and really find them. You know, really do what no man's done before. Really put all the tech out there and like, let's get some drones with thermal cameras. Let's get out there. I would do some crazy stuff. You gave me some money to find Bigfoot. You know, I want to see it. I do. I want to see it happen, but it just, I don't know. And so far, you know, yeah, you got a little thermal image. We need more. The video you showed last week with the one like chasing the car, that one was pretty cool. Who's to say if it was real? Yeah. But yeah, that would the provenance. See, any of the video, at least with this is what I'll give it to a TV show is we know the provenance. It's this TV show. It's this crew out there. We know the provenance. Now, if they fake it or not, that's the question. But a lot of these videos, we have no idea who shot it, where, what's the story. You know, that's the problem. I mean, on Bigfoot, ghost, and UFOs half the time. All right, I don't want to run out of time. Let's see. What's the last one here? Oh, yeah, I want to make sure we don't run out of time because I want to talk about this. Since we're heading into a new year coming up, and this is Baba Vanga, Vanga. Is it Vanga? How do you remember the psychic? She's deceased now. Baba Vanga. Predictions for 2020 revealed. I thought this was really interesting, and let's see. She supposedly predicted a lot of things. Vanga, who was born in Bulgaria in 1911 and died in 1996, age 85, spent most of her life in the Kozu Mountains and was renowned world over for prophetic predictions about the future. While a great deal of skepticism has surrounded the current accuracy of these predictions, many people remain adamant that she has successfully foretold a wide range of major global events. I remember when they say she predicted, Barack Obama's election. I don't know. So what did she predict for 2020? Well, the remainder of the year and beyond, Vanga hinted at a possibility of a devastating tsunami she claimed would hit parts of China, Japan, and Pakistan. She also predicted someone would attempt to assassinate Russian President Vladimir Putin, most likely a member of his own personal security team. In addition, President of the United States Donald Trump will allegedly suffer some sort of health issue that will leave him with tinnitus and hearing loss. Some have drawn comparisons between this and mysterious symptoms recently suffered by U.S. diplomats in Cuba. I think they did say they did have hearing loss. There's also references to economic collapse in Europe and meteor strike in Russia. Whether any of these things will actually come to pass, however, remains to be seen. And that's, here it is. These are the predictions summed up by at least this website. Let's see. We got 2020. We come back to this show. I'll pull up this video clip at the end of 2020 next year. And we'll see, did any of this pan out? Because it always seems in hindsight with these predictions, with Nostradamus, with Baba Vang, how you say her name. It always is in hindsight what happened afterwards. I mean, are they predicting stuff? And then we say, now I'll say this about Nostradamus, man, all those doomsday specials. I mean, we talked about that on that doomsday episode we did. They used to show like New York getting attacked. Usually it was the Statue of Liberty, getting attacked or something, but they were showing New York getting attacked and, like Middle East. And I mean, that seems like they were calling it a little bit, just a little bit. That's what I've always thought about that. We're raised as a doomsday generation, but man, it kind of called it on those Nostradamus specials when it came to 9/11, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Go back, watch one of those Nostradamus specials from like the 1980s. And there's one in particular I saw like 100 times when I was a kid. And you'll be like, I don't know. Things that make you go, I don't know. But that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. Our guest tonight is Carole J. Obley, spiritual medium. She is the author of I'm Still With You, True Stories of Healing Grief Through Spirit Communication. And I've known people who've lost loved ones. And, I do think my own personal losing my grandmother and seeing her spirit and having some communications come through, I do think was kind of healing for me. So I'm interested to hear what her thoughts on that. And of course, we'll have the phone lines open after the second commercial break. This is the first one. And we will take phone calls later. You call in, think of a specific question, who you want to connect with. Have that all ready to go. If you have time, because we're going to interview our guest. All right, guys, we'll be right back after this short commercial break.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do voices from beyond the cold case files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It's called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Certificate A. Now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
This is an APAC studio presentation. It's the holiday season, and many people can't wait for that special day when they get to open their gift. Just as unbearable can be the wait for the cold comfort of the grave. But friends, you don't have to die to sleep like the dead. This Christmas morning, give the gift of a coffin-quality pillow. Why make your loved ones wait till the afterlife for the comfort of rest eternal when you can give a coffin-quality pillow today?
Coffin Quality Pillows by Serta. Available everywhere tasteless items are sold. Coffin and grave sold separately.
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
He is conducting an experiment into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
This fall, a new hard-hitting police drama is coming to Friday night. He was a well-to-do cop transferred to a troubled precinct downtown. His new partner is a space traveler with a passion for justice. It's Yuppie and the Alien.
Look, you might vaporize dissidents in Alpha Centauri, but in this precinct, we do it by the book.
I'm so terribly sorry, Captain.
Goog, I'm sorry. Don't miss this one-of-a-kind police drama. They're fighting crime the hard way in designer clothes with $250,000 sports car and a UFO.
Partner, let's go cruise in the car and look moody.
One tough downtown precinct, two outsiders doing things their way. Yuppie and the Alien on VBC.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe. 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Carole J. Obley. She has a bridge between heaven and earth in over 9,000 grouped and individual readings with startling clarity, specificity, accuracy about people's loved ones in spirit, names, descriptions of loved ones, personalities, and uncanny, validating details about you and your family's lives, as well as grief support and teachings about the afterlife are typically delivered in her readings. Heartfelt and compassionate in her approach, Carole is also well known for her practical, down-to-earth guidance and insight into life's issues such as relationships, careers, and finance. Through her inspiring books, CDs, media work, seminars, and workshops, Carole has touched thousands in helping them to move through the grieving process more easily and, importantly, to open their hearts and minds to the divine within. After experiencing a session, many people comment on how much lighter and more connected they feel, renewed by the power of love and comforted by the confirmation that death does not separate us from those we love. Carole's passion and intent is to use her talents to mirror the divine essence of others, thereby empowering them to reach the stars in all avenues of their lives. Because of this, she adamantly believes that each person has the ability to connect with the voice of God by accessing their intuition. Carole's created the 3 levels of intuition development, which she teaches in affordable weekend intensive training sessions. She loves to teach and share many of these easy-to-apply techniques she personally utilized to develop her own abilities as a medium. These workshops can be taught in different locations publications throughout the year. Carole is an author of 4 books on mediumship, and her website can be found at www.soulvisions.net. I've been reading her book, I'm Still With You, True Stories of Healing Grief Through Spirit Communication. I'm fascinated by this topic, and we will take your phone calls later in the show after the second commercial break. Remember, have a specific question. We have about 3 minutes or so for that reading, and no medical or legal advice or questions in that realm. But we'll remind you of that later, just to be sure. But let's go ahead and get to our guest. Are you there with me, Carole?
I am.
Welcome to the show.
That was quite an introduction. Who were you talking about?
Does that feel a little surreal when people do introduce you?
It does. It does. I don't know. I've just become so immersed in what I do that I forget about, I guess, how long I've been doing it, and everything that's happened. I'm really happy that you're great with the book, that you enjoy that.
Well, I just started it, but one of the things that really kind of touched me about the book is you get into kind of your childhood, and I related to that very well, very much, because I was a loner kind of kid, and I wanted my alone time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you talk about going in your bedroom to listen to your music or do what your thing is, that you kind of stuck to yourself, and that you found the world kind of alien.
That is absolutely true. Yes.
That rang so true to my childhood that I'm like, okay, I'm really going to be into this book.
And well, hopefully you didn't go down the pathway I did with, substances and so forth. But that's part of my story, so that's why I include it.
Well, it's interesting what you talk about the substance abuse in it too, because I that's another thing I relate to. It's not that I'm a substance abuser anymore, but I did my fair trial of things, like you talk about pot and that, and it's the idea that you had as a kid, and I did, is that the world's you wanted to see magic in the world.
That's a really good point. I still want to see magic. I love what I do. It's not even work to me. It's just, it's always different. It's sometimes difficult, but I never get bored. So that's, I guess if we can talk about magic, that's what that is. I've always been fascinated by the paranormal ever since I was very young. And I write about that in my books too, that I was very interested in UFOs. And I did tune into you for a brief moment before you and I connected. And I saw that you were discussing some videos of, UFOs and unknown phenomena. That started a long, long time ago for me. And it's still going on, so many decades later. But yeah, I've always been into that.
And you can't like put a finger on like when that started. It seems to be like always ingrained in you, that curiosity.
Absolutely, yeah. And
that's
I know
what
that
I relate
to. I was born with it. I was the type of kid that always said, "Why?" I was always asking why or where. How does that happen? All those kind of questions.
Gets you in trouble at Sunday school. That's what happened to me. But yeah,
well, I've been quite honest. My books are very genuine. I do not embellish anything. The readings in them are transcribed word for word. The only thing I edited was for space or clarity. But the essence of them are 100% accurate. And I have a new book coming out next year that is different than the others, but everything in my books is true to what I have directly experienced through thousands of communications with souls who have crossed into spirit.
What I love about having mediums that write this out, that draw from their experiences and write a book, I've read several by mediums, that is, you guys get a glimpse or are you? I mean, do you feel you are? I feel you are when I read your book and I read others, that you're getting a glimpse to what it's like on the other side, what it's like to be dead.
That is true. I've had glimpses. I've been blessed to have those. And I consider myself blessed to be doing this work. I know I did it in previous incarnations. I do a lot of things with people as well, with the Akashic files or Akashic records.
Right.
So I'm aware that, I've done it before. And so, yeah, I mean, there's some very, very intriguing things, and hopefully we'll get into some of those tonight. Just from I have a lot of case files.
We got a lot to unbox just with what you said there. I want to get into reincarnation, but I don't get into it yet. That's a whole aspect I completely, through my own experiences, believe in. But I want to start, reading your book, your abilities and all that. This didn't come till later in life, though. You were like me as a kid, always interested in the weird, the unusual, but the abilities, that was later in life for you.
That's true. Not until I was in my late 30s, and I had a very kind of catastrophic event that was a catalyst for all of that, and that happened to be a fire. I was running a business. I had a business partner, and overnight there was an electrical fire. It burned us out. And, long story short, I was left directionless for many months and almost a year, actually. And I had no clue what I wanted to do with my life. And I received a phone call from a friend who, unfortunately, is no longer with us here on the earth plane. She invited me to a metaphysical center in a small town near where I live. I'm near Pittsburgh, and this town was even closer than Pittsburgh is to me. And I kind of delayed that. And then eventually I went. And from there, everything just went very, very quickly. I took a lot of training and became certified in, I did a lot of hands-on healing, Reiki, which is a form, it's pretty popular. It's been around for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure probably some of your listeners are familiar with that. But I started with that, and then I did spiritual healing. I did many, many years of being a conduit for spirit in that way. And I also started speaking mediumship. So I've taken a lot of training in speaking mediumship.
What's speaking mediumship?
Well, I consider mediumship, anything in which you're kind of a channel for the divine. Speaking is doing readings. So what I was doing was, hands-on mediumship with channeling energy. So the speaking stuff came quite naturally to me. And the very first reading I did, the lady thought I had been doing it for years. And I said, no, you're my first reading. And she goes, you're kidding me. I said, no, you're my very first reading. And I was so nervous. And I mean, my mind is racing, my palms are sweating, my heart's pounding. And lo and behold, I was able to tell this lady, who was very kind, I told her things about her. And she said, I can't believe you know that. There was just certain characteristics. And at that point, I really wasn't communicating with the spirit world too much. It was basically, tuning into qualities that people have, or, what was going on in their life, perhaps, or they had questions about career or relationships, things, are more of a psychic nature. Mediumship came, I actually, when I was reading the tarot,
I wondered if that's what you were doing.
I started getting bleed throughs, I call them, from people's loved ones. And so it was very interesting. I know the tarot like the back of my hand. I've read it. I'm self-taught for many, many, many years. So I also have studied astrology for many years, and I still continue to study it. So I use those too when I do readings for people. All of this took a long time to really develop, but it seemed to kind of be second nature to me. So that's how I know, plus knowing my own natal chart, my birth chart, you can see right there that I was born with a predisposition, a sensitivity And, anybody can look at their natal chart and you can tell certain things about the person's character, their life, from that.
If they're going to be psychic for one, like you, or that has
Well,
indications.
you can never really, with astrology, you can never really 100% predict. In fact, even with what I'm doing, except for validation and evidence that's given of spirit loved ones, I always tell people there is always the element of free will. So, what I usually give is what spirit shows me. That includes both spirit guides, those souls who help us on our pathway, and spirit loved ones. So I give a combination of those. If I'm doing straight mediumship, it's basically the information is coming from that person's relatives or friends, or there's pets that come through in the readings as well. So there's, this has taken me a lot of years, and I still am developing. So 25 years later, I'm still really honing the sensitivity. But yes, I was born with that.
It sounds familiar. I remember reading John Edwards' book on his way he developed.
Yeah.
He started out with tarot, and then spirits started to come through. I used to read tarot. And for me, what stopped it was a spirit coming through that didn't look so nice. I had somebody I was doing a reading for, and I was getting real bad vibes from him. He wasn't agreeing to what I was saying. I'm like, okay. Like, he didn't want to admit to certain things. And then a dead guy in a suit, basically sitting on my couch. And this was all over the phone. This is why I believe in the power of the phone. That you can do this over the phone. I was sitting on my couch. It scared me, and I've never really committed to going back to try to do readings or develop that after that so much. Just recently, we started doing it on the show again. We call it Psychic Game Night, and it's everybody's opportunity, callers, people in the panel, to develop their own abilities. But yeah, there's some power to that.
Well, you really have to use. I have cautioned over the years. I've cautioned people against using things like Ouija boards and spirit boards and all that kind of stuff, because I wouldn't even use them. And I've been doing this for years, because you need discernment. Even if you have discernment of who you are communicating with and the intent is very important when you do readings. You can still attract in some negativity. I mean, it can happen. And not even so much negativity. I don't want to scare people.
Right.
This is not a scary thing. But playful spirits who are dishonest, if you will, those who are misrepresenting themselves, that can happen. Years ago, when I was doing readings in a suburb of Pittsburgh, there were people who came to me, 2 different readings, and people said, I got spirits in my house and I can't get rid of them. And I said, were you fooling around with the Ouija board? And they said, yeah. So, I told them, don't do that, and how to cleanse that out. So you really do have to exercise good practical judgment with this. And you really want to be spiritually centered when you do it. You should not approach it with, like a foolish intent. And I'm not saying that you did.
No.
But I know that people can do that, and there are some who do.
Yeah, I was just doing the tarot. I didn't expect any of that to happen. I figured, I'm a guide to this guy. I'm helping them on their path. I wasn't trying to communicate with spirit, and I've had instances like that where it happens not out of my control. I've said a dead person's first and last name not meaning to, came out of my mind from holding a photograph. I had no idea who their name was, and it came out. Things like that.
Well, it sounds to me as if you're sensitive yourself. You probably wouldn't even be in this field or interested in it if you also didn't have sensitivity. And in my intro, you said about intuitive development, and I've taught that for a lot of years. I haven't taught it recently. But I'm going to be doing some webinars in January, February. So, and by the way, if people are interested, and these are going to be extremely affordable, you can find out about those through, I send out a Constant Contact e-newsletter. It's totally free. Your email is totally confidential. It's on the front page of my website, upper right-hand corner. But I have always taught spirituality and metaphysics. I'm also going to be teaching on accessing the Akashic files, on how to do that. But yeah, I mean, intuition is something we all have. So you probably already have a sensitivity. And if you do that, it's simply a matter of refining that, or, really developing it.
Were the tarot deck like your kind of training wheels to get you to where you are now?
Not really, because I was taught, and I went to this place called Delphi. It is near Atlanta, Georgia. It's actually 2 hours up in the mountains away from Atlanta, but that's the closest city. And I was very intensely trained there. And they didn't believe in props, nothing. You learn to read by tuning into the individual who's sitting in front of you. And I'm so grateful that I was trained that way in the beginning, because then you can adjust. If you want to use tools like the tarot or astrology, in, kind of more psychic type readings, you can do that once you have, how the basics of tuning in. So I'm pretty grateful that that's how I learned initially. And, from there, then I started reading all kinds of books on the tarot, used them every day so I could learn the meanings of the 78 cards. Just would pull spreads for myself. So that's how I learned that. With astrology, I actually have taken many classes and, many, many hours of classes.
Yeah, astrology is something I'm never good at. Totally interested, but never good at. My wife is.
I'll tell you what, it's fascinating.
It is,
Jason.
yeah.
Once you get into it, I mean, it's just amazing. But it's true. There's so much to learn. But if you just look at the planets as energy within the human being, they're physical, bodies out in space, but they're also energies within us. And they're symbolic. If you look at it, it's a language. And each planet and the relationship it has to other planets, particularly in the natal chart, the exact position those were in when the soul came into physical form, it tells you an awful lot about the karma that a person has, what they're bringing in, and the challenges. Also things that are kind of, our gifts, our talents. You can see all of that in a chart.
I've heard of the natal chart. I think I've had somebody do it for me a long time ago. I had a question in the chat room: is what exactly is the natal chart?
Oh, well, it's simply the birth chart. It's a chart I call it the soul's map, because that's really what it is.
Yeah.
But it is the where the planets were in the cosmos the minute that you were born. And that's why it's very important to have your exact birth time, because 1 minute off, especially with the moon is the fastest moving thing. It can not be accurate then. So you really want to have your exact birth time. You need your birth place and, of course, the date. So those three things are what you need to draw up the chart. And there are many places on the internet you can do that for free. One that I particularly like is cafeastrology.com. There's a lot of really good information on there about astrology.
I have to ask my mom, what time was I born? I have an idea. I don't remember the exact minute, but you have to have the exact minute.
Mothers usually know.
Yeah, moms know.
But the other thing is too, you can wherever you were born, wherever where they have the Bureau of Vital Statistics, that's where they would have your birth chart. And it costs a little bit of money to get one, but you need to specifically ask them to put the time on it. Here in Pennsylvania, that for some reason they don't put the time on.
I know some places do and some places don't.
Yeah. So I had to request that when I sent away for mine.
One of the things, we had a psychic on before who, to him, everything, he believed in predestination, that fate, and he didn't believe in free will. When you talk about astrology and natal charts, does that rule out? You mentioned free will. Does that rule out free will, or how does free will work with that?
Well, in a way, we have certain, and this gets into a whole nother ballgame, but it is mediumship. In my new book coming out, Wisdom from the Spirit World, that'll be out in 2020. I talk a lot about how we have these things called blueprints. This is also mentioned in my second book that you're reading called I'm Still With You. And I talk about these blueprints. What are they? Well, they're kind of an outline for living that the soul, with spiritual lessons, that the soul is going to learn and evolve through. So, that's kind of an outline. I shy away from the word contract because my spirit guides, who are very wise, and I have learned so much from them, they tell me that they're not as hard angled blueprints as a contract. That's why I call them blueprints, because there is some free will that you're able to really meet that karma with. So in other words, say that in your blueprint, you wanted to learn about compassion. I want to learn about God, by being more compassionate. And that's how I want to evolve. So you could do that through a number of means. That's where I feel free will comes in. You could become a counselor. You could become what I'm doing. I have become a much, much more compassionate person than before I started doing this work. And it's because of the work that I've been able to open my heart to a level that I know wouldn't have been possible. So for somebody else, though, they may, become a doctor. It really depends on that unique individual, and that's where individuality comes in.
Well, devil's advocate here would say some people become serial killers or Adolf Hitler. Are those people that have gone off the blueprint? I'm not trying to be snarky. It's my
there's
question.
Always a choice. There's always a choice. Rarely are we under any sort of fate that 100% we have no free will in. Now, do I believe? Do I see? I don't have beliefs. I know things from doing my work. Do I know that we are predestined sometimes to meet certain people? Absolutely.
I totally believe that.
Yes, and we set that up. The soul is magnetic. You understand, the soul is not like our logical mind. It's not like the rational brain. Right. It's multidimensional. It's God, really. It's spirit. So it's infinite. So we can be at the right place at the right time. I talk a lot in my readings about synchronicity. Spirit gives us signs through synchronicity. There's many different things in which the soul can meet what it's set up in the blueprints. And if you know astrology, you can see that in the chart. There's certain things. You look at certain houses, just like there's 12 signs, there's 12 houses. And I don't want to confuse anybody because it can get very in-depth. But the astrology is a whole nother ballgame, but it does blend in with our topic of mediumship, because certainly I'm not an expert astrologer, but I do use it as a tool to help people, to help them get a clearer sense of their direction and where they're going.
Well, we talked about glimpses of the other side. You've also mentioned how you get information on people's past lives, which I find extremely interesting. I'm a total believer in past lives just because of some very, very vivid dreams I had that I am totally, I just down in my gut know were past life memories. You get visions of other people's past lives when you're doing a reading?
Yeah, and actually, I tell you about how this all started. It was very peculiar because I never asked to receive that. I always believed in reincarnation. I read a lot about it. I started reading this stuff. I was probably not even in my teenage years yet.
Same here.
With UFOs, I was like under 10. I started being interested in them. Anyway, I was doing readings in the very beginning. I would start to see people were coming for things like, hey, you know, relations, what I call the big two, money and relationships.
Right. Love and money.
So, yeah. And I started seeing scenes above their right shoulder, and they would just arise kind of spontaneously. And I was kind of, you know, confused by them in the beginning, but I would mention them to the people, and they would say, that's funny, I blah, 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 you know. And whenever I hear that's funny, I know that it's dead on because, you know, the person will be scratching their head and going, you know, how would she know that? But it was scenes of sometimes other cultures. It was that individual in different dress, you know, than modern day. It was a lot of times had feelings or clairsentience to it. Clairsentience meaning feelings that spirit will bring. And I would say this to the person, and it was somehow it was relevant to what they were asking. So, you know, they'd say, well, okay, yeah, I've always felt that way. Is that why I'm having challenges, you know, with relationships or with money or, you know, with health or whatever it might be? And I'd say, well, here's the roots of it. This is what I'm seeing. This was a lifetime that this originated in. So there's something magical. You mentioned magic before. I don't know how it works, but there's something magical about once we know that stuff, it comes up for healing, and then we can move beyond it. So that's really the value of it, of knowing, okay, where did this come from? And I'm still carrying that in my subconscious. Oh, gee, I don't have to carry that anymore. I'm free of that. And you see a lot of patterns that come in like that. Phobias, you know, fears that people have. There's a lot of that I have seen in my work. I mean, many, many years of seeing that with people. And that's how it all started, though. It just kind of came out of nowhere.
When you're reading somebody, you know, you're getting information about them, and if the past lives are part of this equation, it's got to be a very important factor to who this person is.
Yeah, well, it's a thread. It's a grain of sand. Let me say it that way. It's a grain of sand of that soul, because that's how immortal the soul is. That's how immortal you and I are. And, you know, one lifetime, and I've read this and it just blows my mind, that one lifetime is like a grain of sand. And on a beach, I mean, think of how many grains of sand are on the beach. But, you know, we have countless lifetimes, and we will be around forever and ever. So I don't know about you, but I kind of get, something goes haywire in my mind when I try to think about that, you know?
Right. Oh, yeah.
But truly, it's just an amazing thing when the Akashic comes in. And sometimes it will arise quite spontaneously when I'm doing readings. And even when there's karma between people, like say somebody's passed over, they're coming through, giving evidence, validating their identity and so forth, giving some messages. And then there'll be something, sometimes it'll come in and say, you know, you've had many lifetimes. I'll say to the receiver of the reading, you've had many lifetimes with that soul. And, you know, sometimes that actually helps to alleviate grief, because the person goes, oh, you mean I've been with them all these other times? And I'm like, yeah, and you're going to be with them again. You'll be with them in the spirit world. So it helps people to understand this isn't the end. We are immortal. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's actually of great comfort. I believe that is the real value and role of mediumship, is to really provide comfort to people, and also to have them know that you are an immortal soul. You are endless and infinite. And, you know, once we have that knowledge, we can come out of that little self, you know, out of our worries and fears and all that day-to-day crap, that holds us down.
Well, I'll tell you what, the vivid dream, I had two very vivid dreams, and one of them totally explained my personality and why I don't trust religion. I don't trust government. I don't trust people. My just I guess rebelliousness towards it all from day one. I guess my earliest memories, but it made a lot of sense, and that's what I think happens when people do discover a past life memory or discover a past life. It connects the dots sometimes, to who they are, why they are.
Well, may I give you a message?
Yeah, you're more than welcome to.
Okay, when you were speaking, I had a sense that you are one of what I call the new Atlanteans. And if you've ever read any of Edgar Cayce,
yes,
and any of your listeners, Cayce, who was a famous American psychic, did his readings in the 1920s and 30s. He would actually go into trance. I don't do that. He would actually leave his body. He would go to the Akashic Records. But he also spoke a lot about the lost continent of Atlantis. And he talked about some of those souls beginning to reincarnate in his time frame, which was the 20s and 30s. And what happened was they actually misused technology back then, according to what Cayce has written and, what he discovered. They had capability of things like, computers or lasers, all this, what we think is modern technology. But supposedly they had it back then. I have a sense that you were there. I don't know if you've ever been drawn to.
You hit the nail on the head. So you're trying to okay. So yeah,
I feel it so strongly, and there's a very, very strong aspect with you. And if you ever take a peek at your natal chart, with Uranus, the planet Uranus.
Yeah.
My sense is that's where the rebellion comes from. Uranus is the great awakener. That's its role in our our spiritual development. It wants you to march to the beat of your own drummer. That's the energy of Uranus. It's always forward thinking. It's very futuristic. My sense is that you are one of what I call the new Atlanteans. May I ask when your birth date is?
June 10th, 1979.
Okay. Yeah, so you are Gemini. There's a lot of communication there with you as well, with the sun sign. But there's also this great wealth of technological information that you've brought forward with you too. So that comes from a long, long, long time ago.
Wow. Well, let me just give you a little picture of Jason Bland's childhood. Okay. So when I was a kid, I was fascinated with Edgar Cayce. My mom had this book that I found called The Sleeping Prophet. And I read that thing. I was fascinated by Edgar Cayce and his abilities and Atlantis. And we just had a guest on about the pyramids and stuff. You hear me throughout the show talk about, I've always believed that there's some prior civilization that influenced, the Mayans and the Aztecs and the Egyptians, that they're all mimicking what's the remnants, a ghost of this past civilization, like Atlantis. It's something I've just purely fascinated. When I was a kid, I read Chariots of the Gods by Eric von Daniken. I was just always fascinated by ancient civilizations.
I did too. Yes. Yeah. So
it rings true.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I know there's always a reason why I'm mentioning what I'm mentioning when I tune into somebody. I'm like, okay, why am I talking about that? Oh, and the person goes, oh yeah, I was very tuned in with that book. But yeah, I mean, we are the sum total of who we've been, and the soul doesn't lose anything. So every single experience that we have from the beginning of time, whenever that was, we don't know when that was really, the beginning of time. And depending upon what your particular beliefs are, or maybe religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs.
I have none.
We don't know when we were created.
Right.
So, but we are the sum total of all of that. So we've lived many lifetimes. We've died many times. To me, it's a great, great comfort, because this is not all there is. This is one little smidgen of who we are. And I think that is the value of studying metaphysics, studying spirituality, doing mediumship, investigating the paranormal. I think it just opens up our minds to the infinite.
Has it ever,
and hopefully our souls.
does it ever drive you nuts that most of the people around you just are like, huh, what? that they don't, like, how are you people not interested by any of this?
Well, I'll tell you, I am the only one in my family, although on my mother's side, there's a lot of sensitivity. There's musicians. There was a lot of musicians on my mom's side. But my dad's side, everybody's professional. I'm the only one that has this. I know that I've had it in past lives. I absolutely know that. I know I was in Egypt. I've actually gone there in meditation and so forth, and revisit some of it was not so nice.
Well,
what
yeah,
happened back there?
Ancient past can be very brutal and nasty.
Yeah. So, it's, I'm very happy to know. And the older I become, the more comfort I feel at, approaching older age. It's like, I'm not afraid to die. I know it's going to be beautiful being back into spirit. And, I know that I'm doing what I was called to do this time.
Now,
I know that.
In this,
it's just a knowing.
In your book, I'm Still With You. You share a lot of readings. It's really a lot about these experiences and your transcripts from these readings. What was one of your, I guess, what's your favorite reading in that book that you reveal?
Oh, wow. Probably one of the ones with the parents that have lost kids. And the chapter is called Forever Young. And it may be the one, actually there's a couple of them, but the one that was interesting, it actually involved these things called ADCs, after death communication, and those are without a medium.
Right.
The family I had met, I did a seminar called Bridges of Love. They came to that. It was, there was a lot of people there who had lost kids. Anyway, they came for a private reading after this gallery reading that I did. I do a lot of gallery readings, group readings.
Right.
And so they came, and they had lost their son. He was about 21, and he was killed in a car wreck.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he came through like a gangbuster, all kinds of evidence. He gave the name of the friend of his that came upon, can you imagine this, came upon this accident and found him lying there, he gave the name in the reading of this guy, and a lot of other stuff too, as the reading shows. Anyway, the family received many interesting calling cards from him, or after death communication. On the anniversary of his passing, their answering machine did weird stuff. Their TV set would turn blue for no reason, the screen. There was many things that happened in their home. And, it was just a very touching reading that this family, could hear from him. And since then, I've also heard that the mom has passed. So I was sorry to hear that. But it just really touched my heart. That's one that sticks out. The other one in that book too, there's such an epidemic nowadays of drug overdoses and so forth.
Yeah.
And at that time in 2008, when I wrote that book, there wasn't so much like there was today. But the one family who came, their son had passed, again, a young guy, overdose of heroin. Okay. They did not even realize they didn't even know he was using drugs. And this may have only been his first or second time that he used this stuff. Killed him. And the interesting thing about that, there was a lot of evidence there. But what I really like about the outcome of that reading, and I do those follow-ups, and I'm Still With You, the family used his death as a sort of a springboard to help other parents who had also lost kids that had, that were having drug problems and so forth. And they came from really an upper middle class area. And the people were kind of in this, kind of fog, like, well, that doesn't happen in our area. Like, there's no drugs. And
At least they know.
so this father who lost his son, he went to the school board as a result of his son's death, went to the school board and said, we didn't even know our kid was using drugs. It was like we found him dead. He was an overdose of heroin.
Worst fear as a parent.
I want to implement a program here because we can't close our eyes to this. It was just when it was really starting to come in. But that's what happened out of something very tragic. And I've lost touch with them. I don't know what they're doing today, but that family really made or tried to help others through their own loss. And there was a lot of sorrow.
Yeah.
As you can imagine. I mean, I can't personally imagine it because I've never had children. But the loss of a child and the people that I've read for, and there have been many, there's nothing like it.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't read if I developed my abilities. I don't know if I could do what you do because I am a parent, and that's my worst fear. And worst, is that even the thought of it brings me anxiety. So I am more power to you to be there to help people connect, especially when they don't get an overdose like that. They didn't know he was using. They got no goodbyes. It's just one day he's gone.
That's it. And it my heart really, I cannot help but be involved with people like that. I really maintain a detachment when I do this, or I wouldn't be effective. But there are certain people that my heart really goes out to them. And those families in that book is very near and dear to my heart. It took me a year to get a publisher, 6 books who have been wonderful to me, and I published my other 2 books. I have a book before I'm Still With You as well. But yeah, those stories in there are very near and dear to my heart. Another cool one too, Jason, it's called Dimes from Heaven. I gave it that title.
Yeah.
Lady came, she had lost her mom. And, when I sit with people, I don't ask them who they lost. I just tell them who's there. Sometimes they blurt it out, which I, always have to stop people from doing.
Right.
I still make my own appointments. Her mom would send her dimes. And she'd find them in the most, weird, strangest places. And I mean, places that she knew that she had just checked and there was nothing there. And then she reaches in her coat pocket, there's a dime. So it's her mom's way of saying hello to her and letting her know she was very close to her mother. And was really in grief after her mom had passed. So that's another cool one too.
I always mention on the show, I say, being a paranormal investigator, doing this show, when people are like, oh, you're in the paranormal, more often it's not that, oh, I lived in a haunted house or I saw a ghost. More often than not, it's, so-and-so, my family passed away and I had this experience. It seems, I think, well, for most people, if they're going to have anything weird, unusual, paranormal happen, it usually is through grief. It is usually through a loss in the family and them reaching out. I had that experience with my grandmother. I saw her in a mirror, the clear as day. My wife had an object show up, this crystal that she can't explain, when her aunt died in a plane crash, and she believes it was from her. There's just these, and these. I mean, you hear ghost stories, you hear people seeing stuff, weird stuff happen. Of course, the really dark stuff too, but the ones that are about family connecting with people are some powerful things going on, like manifestations and full body. They're like they're really physically in front of you.
That is true. I've had many clients tell me that. Many people I've connected with have said, I didn't even know. I knew my grandfather was sick or whatever, but middle of the night, I wake up, there he is standing at the foot of my bed, and then I get a phone call in the morning, he passed. I've heard so many stories like that, and so many. And in fact, that's why I wrote a whole chapter in the book that you're reading, I'm Still With You, about communication, without a medium. And there's categories of that. I mean, nature, a lot of people get visitations from from birds, birds that fly over them. That
Yes. I've had that experience.
They find feathers, all sorts of things. Telephone rings, nobody's there, caller ID, their own caller ID, just weird things. I have heard so many stories.
The animal thing's really interesting because in my family, we've had that experience too, with a bird, that relates to my wife. But yeah, you wonder if they're able to influence or that they, become an animal. I don't know, that they have some influence over animals, to give you a sign.
No, I believe it is it's taken me a long time to try to figure that out. And I still don't know how that mechanism works.
Right.
I believe it is probably through synchronicity, which means a meaningful coincidence. And I have come to really understand that there's this huge fabric of consciousness. I mean, it permeates everything. And that's what the Akashic files are too. And I believe within that fabric of consciousness, there are intersections that can happen. And for example, when we're thinking of somebody, that's deceased, and then all of a sudden, okay, here comes the cardinal, tapping at my window, or it flies right in front of me. That's happened to me with my mom passed 15 years ago. And her signal to me is always the cardinal.
And that's what it is for my wife and her grandmother.
Yeah, so
cardinal.
it may even be your grandmother. Her grandmother was stepping through here too. The synchronicity of my even bringing this up. But yeah, there's many interesting things that can imprint on that fabric of consciousness. And my theory of it is that there's a unity. There's a unity in all of nature. And certainly natural law, and I taught a workshop on that. Those are laws that operate that regardless of our belief in them, like the law of karma, that's a natural law. What we put out, we get back. There's no way that you're going to not make that happen. I mean, whatever you put out, the only variable is time.
How long it takes.
Yeah, I mean, we're here on a dense plane. This plane is very dense compared to the spirit world that's relatively light. So it just takes longer for things to manifest here. So yeah, there's a whole laundry list of calling cards. I call them calling cards.
Well, that's a perfect way of doing it, because it's like, hey, I'm still here, or hey, remember this, or it's like their way.
Exactly.
For me, I'll talk about the cardinal thing. I've talked about it on the show before. There was one time my son has a sensory disorder, and he can't stand loud noises. And I knew we were on this field trip, and there was this train, and we're waiting for. And all these kids screaming and yelling. My son's like, get me out of here. I can't take this. And we go off to like this little off area inside to try to get away from the noise. And we're looking out this window, and sure to save me from a meltdown, my son loves monsters. There was this cardinal, and there was this mantis. And I was having an alien thing going on at the time too. That's why I thought that was kind of significant, but they were fighting each other. That was perfect. It took his attention off of all the noise and everything. And this cardinal eventually killed the mantis. He loved it. It was like, I swear that was her. Mimi, thank you. Coming through, it saved the day, because he was 2 seconds from having a complete meltdown.
Mm-hmm. Well, that, and we also, our spirit guides, those souls who have agreed to help us on our pathway, they send signs too.
Yeah.
We can have different representations. Spirit animals, totem animals, I for example, I have a lion. I haven't seen him recently, but I've seen him very, very clearly. His name is Ra, like the Egyptian sun god. And he's a male lion. I will see him as clear as a bell, clairvoyantly. And it was interesting. Before I even saw him, I was drawn to get this little framed picture of a lion. And it's like, where did that come from? Being drawn to that particular animal. And never really, been around a lion. I have cats, but so many times our guides can give us signs like that too, or you could find feathers. As I mentioned with the story dimes from heaven, coins. There are many things. I don't know how spirit does it or how people in spirit move things. I've had, clients talk about things being moved in their home. Many, many different
They're just
things.
making an object appear. I mean, that's out of nowhere, out of thin air, just an object, an aport, and right there. Where do they draw that from? Where did they get it from? Is there a shop on the other side? They went and bought something. Here you go. Or are they collecting it? It's always fascinating me the way they do it.
I think it's like the movie Ghost. Do you remember the scene with the kind of weird looking tall guy, and he was teaching
oh god, he was creepy.
Patrick Swayze how to be able to move stuff because he was no longer physical. And I really believe it's like that. It does take them a lot of energy to be able to do something, but because the soul is basically electrical energy, in essence, I think that's how they can manipulate lights and electricity and phones. I've had lights flash when I'm doing readings. I've had people tell me their doorbell rings, nobody's there. Many, many different things that spirit can do. When I used to do, this is how I'm really dating myself on this. When I used to do readings, I would use cassette tapes. And sometimes the tape wouldn't tape. And there was nothing wrong with the tape recorder or the tape. And the person would go, "This is all blank." And I'm sorry,
The spirit must not have wanted that recorded for posterity. We got to go to commercial break, and we're going to open up the phone lines when we come back.
Great.
I want to get into spirit guides too, because I have a lot of questions on that too, because I have my own experiences with that. So I want to get into that too. But we will open up the phone lines. So you can call in at 219-230-4444, Skype ID OOJBland00. Call in after we come back from the commercial break. And just remember, you hear us talking, just wait till we call on you. If I hang up on you, don't take personal offense. I got one phone line for 2 ways to call in. Just try calling in after that caller gets off. First come, first serve. We'll be back after this short commercial break.
Enter the occult world of necromancy. You were brought here for one purpose: necromancy.
A ceremony dating back to the pre-Christian era. It's the art of reviving the dead. It requires involvement with evil spirits by the person performing the act.
The devil god brings life to the dead
No, please. No, please.
and death to the living. Necromancy, starring Orson Welles and Pamela Franklin. From Cinerama releasing. In color, rated PG, parental guidance suggested.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and interfacediv.net.
When
Alex Gardner is asleep. He has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it, the scientists want it, but to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all, but he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now. Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the Dreamscape.
New from Mostly Healthy Foods. Orange Flare Orange Juice. Every glass has a ray of sunshine.
Wow! It has a ray of sunshine in every glass? Father, can I have some?
Sure, son. My God! My face is melting!
Every glass has a ray of sunshine! And yes, it's also a tasty beverage and a high-energy plasma. Sweet Mother of God, close the damn curtain! Oh, how am I still alive inventing this horrible product?
My body is riddled with tumors and the energy to play.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do voices from beyond the cold case files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Nervous?
Yes. I don't like this.
You only have 75 more to go. Okay? What's this one?
It's a couple of wavy lines.
Sorry, this isn't your lucky day.
I know. I'm getting a little tired of this.
You volunteered, didn't you? We're paying you, aren't we?
Yeah, but I didn't know you were going to be giving me electric shocks. What are you trying to prove here anyway?
I'm studying the effect of negative reinforcement on ESP ability.
The effect? I'll tell you what the effect is. It's pissing me off.
Well, then maybe my theory is correct.
You can keep the $5. I've had it.
I will, mister.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is spiritual medium Carole Obley, author of I'm Still With You, True Stories of Healing Grief Through Spirit Communication. And tonight you can call in for a short reading, about 3 minutes or so. She has a couple things, though. No medical or legal questions. We don't want to get into that. But have a specific question to ask. And have in mind who you want to try to connect to. But you don't know. Anybody could come through. But call in. We do have somebody waiting on the line. Remember, if you call in, and I hang up on you, it's because I got somebody on the line. Just try to call in after that person gets off. Also, just wait till I call on you, because we might talk a little bit before I call you on. But just wait till the caller gets off. The lines are full right now. We'll bring you on, and just 3 minutes, maybe 5 at the max, and then I'm gonna probably have to cut you off. So remember, you're only gonna get a little bit, but I have a feeling Carole's gonna be pretty amazing at this. She definitely nailed it on the head for me about when she started talking about Edgar Casey and Atlantis. I don't know if I'm a past Atlantean. That'd be awesome, but it would make a lot of sense for all my interests ingrained in me from my earliest memories. So she hit it on the head for me just a little bit, just off the fly there. She did. So maybe she will for you. So call in tonight, get your reading, but let's go ahead and get back to our guest. You on the line there with me, Carole?
I am. I have to say, you have some very interesting and peculiar commercials. They're very strange. I'm sitting here listening. I don't think I've quite heard any like that before.
Well, welcome to the Paranormal Soup.
All right.
Well, we do already have somebody waiting on the line. If you're ready, we can go ahead and jump into this.
Okay. Did you want to, when we left for the break, you had mentioned something about spirit guides.
Yeah, it is something I am really interested in, because for me, what do you qualify, or what is a spirit guide? Are they angelic? Are they deceased people who lived on this earth? Are they your relatives? What are spirit guides?
No, usually they are deceased people that have lived on this earth, but they have gone through many tests or training in spirit to be able to be a helper. And there are many categories of spirit guides. They are drawn to us. Some of them are past life associates, meaning we've been with them before. Typically, they're in our soul group or our level of consciousness. And sometimes they're not. They're higher than we are. There's the ascended masters, certainly, that are perfect, that help us. There's the angelic kingdom. But the spirit guides usually help us based on our karma, and they know what we came here to do. So they help us based on what we're doing. For example, because I'm a medium, I have certain guides who help me with the process of mediumship. And, someone else who, say, is a teacher or somebody who's an engineer would have different spirit guides. And they also help us with our personal lessons, not just our work, but with what we've come in to do, with relationships. They might help us with our health. I have specific health guides that, when I do private readings, if somebody has some concerns, they'll talk to them in a holistic way, what they can do with something holistically with a condition. So there are many different categories of spirit guides. Usually we've met up with them before we've even come here. So we've known them before.
Well, that's
prior
why I'm
to being born.
Really curious, because I have one in my mind that I believe is a spirit guide. And what would I do to try to connect more, learn, find out, I would love to know my spirit guide's name. Even though I've seen her in dreams, I don't know her name.
Well, many times they do not have names. At least I don't get names with loved ones that have passed in many, many, many readings. There are names that come in.
Right.
But spirit guides, usually they're energies. Now, they can take a name, but I typically see them as what they're working with a person on. One of the ways that you can connect is meditation, mindful meditation, going into a still place and just calling upon them, asking them to give you their calling card, a certain sensation. I've actually had a guide that I would smell Nag Champa incense, Indian incense when he would come in. That was his calling card. You might get a feeling, an expansive feeling, a feeling of upliftment. But really, meditation is the way that you develop that closer relationship with your spirit guides.
Now, are you ready to take a phone call?
Sure, I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, we got 416 area code. Who do we got? 416 area code. You there?
Yeah.
Hi. Thank you for calling in. What's your name?
Hi.
Just first name.
It's Vicky.
Vicky, thanks for calling in.
No problem.
I'm sorry, is it Nikki or Vicky?
Vasiliki.
It's Nikki?
Vasiliki.
That's Nikki. Okay.
It's a Greek name.
Greek name.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I'm butchering it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No wonder we couldn't get.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay. Yeah. What's your question? How can I help?
I just wondering which one of my relatives is with me, or my dad or my mom.
Oh, well, which one of your
passed on, I
parents?
guess.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was having a little bit of difficulty hearing you. Would
okay.
you understand that? Well, both of them, but I feel that your father very much prominent. And were you like Dad's favorite? Were you really close to
I
him?
was first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like he always thought of you in that way. He still does. And he's given you some signs that he's around. And by the way, he does mention going outside, doing some outside work or gardening. Was that something that he would have done? Do you still do that, or what's up with that?
I live in an apartment. No, not at all.
Okay, did he do that?
No, I don't do any gardening. Yes, he did.
No.
His name was actually, his name means farmer.
Yeah.
My dad's name.
That's interesting. Because that's how I see him. I see him with his hands very weathered. That's indicating to me he did physical work, and so he's just identifying himself in that way. And here's how he communicates. Okay. It will be through nature. So you might get something, and I know you said you live in an apartment, but you might stumble upon something and you think, how did that grow there? And it may even be around that apartment. I've had that happen with a lot of clients, and it's a calling card from the other side. So I know you're not expecting that, but you'll think, how did that grow there? And it may even be something, a flower or something growing up through the sidewalks, but it catches your eye. I feel with this man that he was an exceedingly dedicated person, and especially with the family. He looks at you
Oh my God.
as the responsible person, or if you were you said you were the oldest. Is that what you had said before?
Yeah.
Yeah. He looks at you as taking care of business here, carrying on the family name, and he also will sometimes visit in dreams. Okay, I don't know if you've had a dream or you have siblings that have had dreams of him. But he has connected in that way. I do see him in a beautiful place in the spirit world. It's definitely in nature. That's what this man loved. And that's where I see him over there as well.
Oh, great. I also see a lot of feathers around. There's a lot of birds, pigeons on my street. I also find feathers everywhere. Baby feathers, big ones, little ones. Could it be just a coincidence?
Well, no, I think that if you're thinking of him, that's what we were talking about. Jason and I were talking about earlier.
Yeah, that's right.
You have a certain synchronicity that occurs, but he wants to let you know you are still his girl. I mean, he still thinks of you.
Thank you
he
so
still
much.
thinks of you as his little girl.
Oh my goodness.
And I want to ask you one more thing. Is there a reason why he would keep showing me through clairvoyance water? Do you live near water? Is that you, or was that him?
Yeah, we live near Lake Ontario.
Okay.
In Canada.
Okay. Cool.
So
that's where
I'm
you
very
grew
close
up?
to the lake. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All righty. Yeah, I kept seeing that. So.
Plus, he's from another country. Yeah.
Thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah, thank you for calling in.
Thank you so much. You have a good evening. All right. Bye-bye.
And for people trying to call in, I hung up on a lot of people. I have one phone line. Sorry. Don't have a big switchboard. Just keep trying. The phone line is open now, so you can try again. Hopefully not like 3 people at once, but just go ahead and try. We'll see whoever gets through first. But, it's interesting. We talk about, the signs and stuff like that. I always tell people, trust what your gut tells you. That's how the incident with the bird, I knew right then that was my wife's grandmother. People say, oh, you're just being imaginative. No, it was that feeling in my gut.
Yeah, you really have to. This is not a rational thing. This is very much through the right brain, the intuitive senses. And yes, you're absolutely correct. Gut feelings, a knowing. That's why when people dismiss a message, I tell them to write it down. Because my gut is telling me, I've done this for so many years that even if the sitter doesn't have knowledge, I'm like, no, this is what Spirit's telling me, write it down. And these little brief readings, these are very different, and there's only so much I can do in these little brief readings.
Yeah.
But hopefully to make one good connection or to answer a good, a question for guidance that somebody has, that's really the purpose of this. But yeah, I mean, you really have to open and trust. That's probably the biggest obstacle that people have when they're developing intuition is trust.
We got another caller. We got Mike on the line. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Hey, okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We got people trying to call in right now. So anybody trying to call in, just remember, I'm going to hang up on you until the next line opens up. So just hang in there, people. All right, Mike, go ahead.
I'm 55 years old out of Chicago. And I don't know what else you need to know about me, but ask if you need to. I got a court date coming up at the end of January, and I was wondering if you could tell how that might work for me.
No legal.
Did you read the disclaimer? Yeah. I was talking about no legal cases.
No legal.
I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Did you have another question you'd like to ask?
Well, I got a phone call next week about it's not legal for benefits, so that I don't know if it's going to go my way or not next week. A phone call, but
yeah, I do feel that you'll be successful, Mike. It's just this has been a long road for you. I feel like it's just been one thing after another. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I mean, you've had, this has been going on since at least the beginning of this year, maybe even before that. We're at the tail end of the year. I feel like it's been one obstacle after another for you, but then you're going to come to this resting place. You're going to come to the resting place. And you're going to go, it was all worth it. I stuck to my guns. It was worth it. And I do feel there's a spirit presence helping you at this time. That it helps you with some physical issues you've had. Did you have physical? Okay.
Yeah. I almost died.
Don't tell me anything. Don't tell me anything. Okay. Especially the spinal area. I feel like, and I know we're not doing medical, but I just wanted to get this in. Especially the spinal area. I don't know if you've been having pain there, or it goes down your legs or whatever. But there's a spirit guide who's helping you with balancing your energy out a bit more, because it's kind of like you've been here, you've been there, you've been topsy-turvy with not feeling well and stress, mental stress, all of this stuff going on. So probably by March, April, it's like you're a new guy, and there's a lot of transformation. Yeah. Well, I'm happy to deliver that.
I lost like 4 pounds last week, and I feel so good. My energy is, the toxins are out, and boy, I'm like a new person, and thank God, So I hope everything goes like you say, though. Thank you, So for sure.
Okay.
And God bless
for
you.
Calling in.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
All right, you too. Bye, Jason.
Bye, Mike. We'll reiterate this again. No medical or legal questions. Have a specific question, but no medical or legal questions.
And then I was telling him about his health.
Yeah.
It's hard sometimes that the reading blends into that, but generally, I don't want somebody coming on and going, "Hey, do I have cancer?" You know, that
Well,
sort of
yeah.
thing. That's totally out of my expertise.
Go see
I
a
read
doctor.
energy very well, but I don't want to get into that sort of thing. It's too much responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
For something I'm not qualified
I
for.
mean, I know people that do have that ability. I mean, like, we had Barry Taff on, parapsychologist. He has a psychic ability. It's amazing. He can like literally see if you have cancer in you, you know, but you know, is he a doctor? No, he doesn't want to. He just tells people, you need to go see the doctor. Go see the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like you
Mm-hmm.
can't have that kind of responsibility on your hands.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I see a lot of that too. But I always tell people, go get checked. That's what you need to do.
Exactly. All right. Well, we got somebody else. The lines are blowing up. We got somebody else on the line. Who do we got on the line?
Got Nancy.
Hi, Nancy. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, Nancy.
Thanks for having. Hi, Carole.
Yeah. Hi. What's up?
Oh, I'm calling in to see if you have any messages for me. I felt, I don't know why, but I just felt the need that someone has something to say to me.
Well,
And
I am aware of the older.
I feel so strong.
Okay, hold on. I am aware of the older feminine energy comes in as a mom, from mom's side.
Yes.
And would you understand the lady who had several conditions going on physically, particularly something right there in the chest area, either heart or lungs? It may have been a congestive heart. Do you know who that would have been?
That's passed?
I believe so. Unless you're going to tell me somebody here in the living has that right now.
Not off the top of my head, I can't think of who that would be.
Okay, I want you to think about that. Yeah, this will be, it may be a grandmother on the maternal side. I also feel as though what they've been trying to come through to you, and particularly with that side, your mom's side, have you noticed that you have been feeling kind of down, or, you know, you're not sure
yeah.
What direction you're going to turn into, because there's a lot of confusion, but you kind of get deflated, you kind of get semi-depressed, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and that's been going on for some time, right? It seems to have intensified
Quite a while.
as we come
About
as we
2
come
years.
on to the.
It's gotten worse lately.
Yeah, well, I do feel as though with you, there's been kind of like the wind knocked out of your sails, so to speak. And if that had to do with losing people from through death, that sort of thing, you're kind of in the process of. Yeah, that's why I said there's this older female coming in that's saying, "Hey, we've got him here." By the way, there's a dad figure there as well. There's your dad.
Oh, that's nice. I'm glad he made
it.
I'm glad he made
it. Yeah. Is he the one that you took care of, Nancy? Somebody's telling me you took care of them.
Yes. I took care of my mom, my dad, and my grandparents, yes.
Okay. And are mom and dad the ones that passed recently?
Yes.
Okay.
2 years. My dad's been 11 years.
Okay. So that's why I felt like, mom was very strong. She's been trying to come to you, and so is your grandmother on that side, wanting you to reach outside of yourself, because that's how you're going to feel better. It's like you've been in this shell, and you felt very closed in. And a lot of times when we do that, we just, our mind keeps going. Our mind is it can be our worst enemy. Okay, you got to be liberated from your mind. I would acknowledge for you to step out, do some volunteer work, do something that to help other people, do something, breathe some fresh air. But you got to get moving. As far as kind of percolating in this. You've got to move forward. So I always say that the best way to get out of ourselves is to help somebody else. And you'll be amazed.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
At how much better you feel. I don't care if you do 2 hours a week of volunteer at food bank or, you know, helping somebody to learn how to read. There's people that don't know how to read. You know, there's many, many things you could do, working with senior citizens, a lot of things. But I really feel like they're saying to you, they've been saying, you know, you still have life. You still need to be active. You still need to find purpose. Do you know who Helen would be, Nancy?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Who is she? Who is she?
She's a good friend of mine. Been in a wheelchair, paralyzed for quite a few years.
Mm-hmm. Is she still here in the physical?
Yes.
Okay. I believe it's your mother acknowledging her. There's no way I would know it. And I feel this, that Mom is saying there's a person, and you've been friends with her for a long time, right?
Yes, and my mother was close to her too.
There's a person that you also, you know, what seems little to us might be a really big deal to another person. And I feel like Mom is saying to stretch out, reach out to people like her, count your blessings. Gratitude is always something that is beneficial to engage in. And even if you find 3 things per day to be grateful for. So, so you're going to pull out of this, I have no doubt. Please know that your parents are still with you, especially your mom.
My mom and I was very close. And it's been
that's
really
why
hard.
I said, especially your mom. Yeah.
My mom and I were.
This is a difficult time for a lot of people.
The holidays always are.
It's a difficult time for a lot of people. Yeah, I understand that.
I don't feel her around me like at first I did, but I don't feel her around me like I used to when she first passed. And lately I haven't felt her around me. And I was like, what's going on? What are you doing that you're not around me? You know,
and she was the first one that came through when you asked who's around. She was the first one. I'm like, there's a mom figure coming in here real strongly. And there's an MAR name too, Nancy. You know who that is? Starts with the letters MAR.
I have an Aunt Mary that's still alive.
Mm-hmm. Is that Mom's sister or sister-in-law?
On my mother's side, yes.
Okay,
She's
well,
90.
I believe, Mom comes around her as well. She comes around her as well. She was mentioning her, saying hello to her. So I'm going to leave you with that, but please consider all of that. That was strictly straight from your mom's mouth to you, through mine to you.
I believe it. That's for sure. Because she's pretty strong and outspoken woman. I believe that she would be the first one to come through and tell me to snap out of it.
Well, she was the family. Well, yeah, I mean, she's very adamant about that.
She was the
glue.
Was the glue that held our family.
Yep. Yeah, I was just going to say she was the dominant figure. I don't mean that in a detrimental way, but I really feel her to be the dominant figure.
She was.
Of having to. Some of it was out of necessity, if you know what I mean. Yep. Yeah.
I did. Yeah. But I was
okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for calling in.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Now you got a name there, Carole. Like you get Helen. It came through. You identifying somebody in her life. I mean, that's specific. That's pretty specific to get that. You say you're clairaudient. You really you hear the voices.
Oh, extremely. That's why I love radio. I've done years and years and years of radio. That's why I love radio because, and why I love phone readings. I do many, many, many phone readings. Almost all my private readings are done by phone. all over the country, plus out of the country. My books are in other countries too, so that's how those clients have come. But yeah, clairaudience, very strong, and the names are typical in the readings.
Well, one of the reasons, people are like, well, psychics don't get names. I'm like, I did. I mentioned briefly before, how, people have heard the story on my show before, but it's something that's just fascinating me is, I held this photo of a person who was deceased. It was actually, it was in a coffin. It was at his funeral, this picture. Somebody left all these photos at a friend's home from when he bought the house. They left all this photo albums behind. And I held this photo, and in my head, I just blurted out his first name. And then they're like, well, how did you know that? We haven't even told you. They're like, what's his last name? Do you know his last name? And I could hear it, just that little inner voice in my head kept on saying the last name. And I just said it. And they're like, oh my God, that's it. I've never done that again. It was just holding that photo and I did that. But it's like, it was, could that have been my mad? I could see how people could get messages, but think it's just their own inner voice.
Yeah, well, I don't think if you're getting a last name too. Yeah, I mean, clairaudience is interesting because it's really, you are hearing that it's through your own, it's like your own voice.
Right.
But you're hearing it, yeah.
It's giving you information you shouldn't know.
That's right. Well, or you should. Either one.
Right. We got another caller. We got 860 area code. Who do we got on the line?
Hi, this is Azariana.
Hi, Azariana. Doing good. Thanks for calling in.
Hi. Yeah, I have a question for your guest. Or
yeah, hello.
I would like a reading from the guest. Hello. I've been looking for some important papers that I just can't seem to find. Is there any way you can point me in a direction for them?
Oh boy, I'm horrible with that. I always say call on Saint Anthony or the one saint that can help you find things.
Lost and found for the spiritual realm.
By the way, were these legal papers of some sort?
Well, not real. They're old legal papers. It's already done, so it's not like I'm asking a legal question. They're already done. I lost.
No, that's okay. But they are of a legal nature.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I felt. Yeah, boy, I don't know. And I'm being completely honest because I that's not one of my strong suits to find lost things. I don't know. I suspect that you've looked high and low, so you might have to.
Yeah.
But something comes up here. I don't know if you could somehow contact a legal agency and get a copy of the documents. There might be one approach.
I already did on one, right, on one of them, but the others.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know what.
I do feel in general that something's going to break through with that, though. Let me put it to you that way. I do feel that Spirit's working behind the scenes to help you, and that you will get some inroads with it because it seems to be an important puzzle pieces to the family in some way.
Yeah, kind of.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So I would just, it could be the timing is not here. Weird stuff happens with timing. I can't tell you how many instances I've seen of that in my life and in clients. It's like, yeah, I tried and tried and tried, and then boom, all of a sudden it happens. So don't give up on it. I do feel as though you have some relatives over there on the other side that are helping you with that. And I do want to ask you this. I'm hearing about genealogical stuff, family tree. Have you ever worked on that, or do you know anybody in the family that has?
I'm trying to. I'm adopted. It's out there. I'm adopted. I'm trying to open up the public record, and for my family, and I'm just hidden. I'm just hitting obstacles at this point. So it'll eventually probably open up.
Okay, so this does have to do with researching some roots. Yeah, I feel like that's going to take some time, but I do feel that you're going to be successful with it because you're quite determined. And so I really feel like you ain't going to give it up. So you'll probably be successful, and I feel like some of it will come to you in a way that you do not expect at all. So that means you don't really have a lot of control over it. If I were you, and I've actually done this, I don't tell people to do stuff I haven't personally done. I would tell you to put that out to, the universe and watch for what shows up.
Yeah, I'm trying on that. I'm trying on that part, So it, like I said, when I hit obstacles, I'm the type to either ask for spiritual help from guides, angels, etc., and or figure maybe it's not the time that I should be doing it if I get that many obstacles.
Yeah.
That's
well, I
me.
can tell you that's the way energy works. If there's a ton of obstacles, either there's a lesson in it for us, a karmic lesson of determination, which you're certainly applying, or it's not, we're out of sync with the timing. So don't give up. I just feel it's most likely the timing, but there will be some breakthroughs in 2020 for you along those lines. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Azariana.
Bye-bye. You have a great night.
You too.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Jason. Bye-bye.
One of the things that I found interesting about this reading you just did is she talking about her family on the other side trying to work to help her get that information revealed, especially if she has family she doesn't even know about, like, relatives.
Yeah. Well, I've done readings for people, a good many people that are adopted, and I will, if I'm doing mediumship, I'll tell them this name or that name and describe the person. They're like, I have no idea.
Well, yeah.
Then they'll say, I'm adopted. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe there's some way or some time you'll find that out. And, it's going to be difficult for me to read you if you don't know, like, some of the biological people. But then they have adopted parents sometimes that come through, or grandparents, So, yeah, but it does make it a little bit harder. One time I was on a Pittsburgh radio station, high listenership, and this man came for a private reading. He had heard me on the radio, and I found out that this man had written 43 books on his family tree.
Holy.
So I was exhausted after the reading. Because he knew every single person I named, and I was, was given description. I said, there's somebody that ran an old, like, corner store, a little market and so forth. And he's like, yeah, that's so-and-so. He knew every one of them.
And they all seem to come by to say hi to him, too.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you open that can of worms.
Right.
The connection is made.
Well, you wonder how much us remembering spirits, there's a lot of ancient religions where ancestor worship, how much the spirits, it means for us to remember them or to say their name. There's a kids movie I watched. I got an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old, so I see a lot of kids movies lately. It was with Coco, and in that, the spirits on the other side, like, they start to disappear if people don't remember them. I thought that was a really interesting concept. How important it might be on the other side for us to think or pay homage to our past loved ones and ancestors.
Yeah, I like when you. So what is Coco? Coco is that a character?
Yeah, well, God, I'm trying to remember. That's the name of the movie, but it's about a little boy who wants to be a musician, and his family's telling him no. But on the other side, there's all this stuff going on because his grandfather was a musician who's passed on, and he's disappearing. He needs people to remember him, and his grandson's the only one left to remember him. So.
Well, the cool thing about that, it's true, because That's one of the things in this new book that's coming out. It's about what ancestors pass on to us, their legacy, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's really amazing. And it's always the intangible things, the qualities, love for the family, forgiveness, service. It's those intangible values that time and again in readings, they've talked about. And, like the lady, the caller who, her mom came in and so forth, and her dad was over there. Sometimes they'll say, yeah, I was the organizer of the family. I passed that on to you. I was the strong person in the family. Those sorts of things. So we are a product of our genetic things,
Right.
but also we have our own patterns, that we bring in. Usually our family can be from the same soul group, but not always. Usually we travel with the same souls at time
That's
after
something
time.
I've thought about deeply. My connections to people and soul groups. It's a fascinating idea.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that too, sometimes you will resonate with people you never met them before.
Yeah.
And you instantly make this connection, and they very much resonate with your soul. And usually, that's either a person we have known before in a previous incarnation, or somebody that's on our same wavelength or from that same soul group.
Yeah, I've always found that fascinating. We got the phone line still blowing up, so I got another caller here, 480 area code. Who do we got?
Hey, Jason, it's Zach. How's it going, brother?
Hey, Zach. Thanks for calling in.
Oh, hi, Zach. How can I help
Hey,
you?
Carole. Hey, Carole. Very nice to meet you. So there's one promise that I made, that if I ever became financially affluent in my life, that I made a promise that I would give back, especially to the people that were there when I was at my lowest. So my question to you is, am I going to get to that point? And if so, does Spirit have any kind of recommendations on how to get to that point?
Yeah, well, with you've done like a 360. I really feel a huge transformation with you from X number of years ago. I couldn't even put a number on it. You've been evolving ever since you came in. In other words, you're not a stagnant personality. When is your birthday, by the way, Zach?
May 22nd, 1989.
Okay. So there's this evolution that's continuing to go on with you. And I really feel like you are going to get, just by your sheer will alone, because you're very, very strong-willed, to be able to manifest or bring into your life or create your life the way that you want it to be. So absolutely. And the other thing that's very interesting here, you have a lot of creativity. Are you aware of that? I mean, as far as, inventing things or writing things, have you tried your hand at any of that?
Well, last year, actually, I helped open up my own business, actually. So, I mean,
okay, there's
it's still obvious.
You've only scratched the surface. You've only scratched the surface. There's all of this creative stuff that's going to come out with you. And I really do feel a golden aura around you that you're going to get where you want. Don't let obstacles or the laying of foundations, which you sometimes think you get into this thing like, well, man, is this ever going to happen? And why is that going on? And what about this? And am I going to have the money to do that or whatever with the business? And so you may have been start and stop with it, but I really feel like going into 2020, you start to pick up some speed with that. I'm sorry, what was the nature of the business again?
I call in a cigar lounge.
Okay, so it's actually like a place people can come in, they converse, they're able to smoke. Do you serve alcohol in there? Okay, it'll catch on. I'm
not at
actually seeing you do. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm saying we don't, but we have a BYOB for special events. We got that now.
Okay. Well, I do feel eventually you will get a liquor license, and I'm also seeing advertising, and so you're going to be getting out there more, and you just need to let people know that you're there. I feel like once they do know that, word of mouth is also going to get you a lot of different clients. And don't be discouraged. You know, every business takes a foundation, and sometimes it's frustrating, sometimes it's very slow. But I do feel as though you probably are going to even open up a second location. Have you ever thought about that?
Eventually.
Yeah. So I know I'm going into the future with that, but it's just to show you what is possible or what is probable. I do see you talking about that. So keep doing what you're doing, and don't let anybody discourage you or tell you that the idea is not going to work.
Awesome. Thank you, Carole, so much for answering my questions. I greatly appreciate it.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Zach. You have a great night, bud.
Hey, you too, brother. Take it easy.
And you said like a golden aura. Do you kind of like get images in your mind when when reading people? Like you just like symbols?
Clairvoyance. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't like to. I don't talk a lot about the aura, which is the energy field surrounding us. It's constantly in flux. It's constantly changing. But there are certain people that I can see things with, and I feel like, you know, this guy might have just been discouraged. Things take time. It's, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. I could tell you about years that I used to beat my head against the wall, not you know, literally, but it's like, why isn't this happening? Why isn't that happening? You know, why don't I have this or that? And I found out, and hopefully Zach is still listening. For anybody else out there, I found out that if I would have had it my way, I would have fallen flat on my face. And it was with mediumship. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't ready yet. So it's kind of like no wine before it's time. And you have to do things in order. And, you know, patience has never been one of my virtues.
Not mine either.
And so it's just, you know, I think with maturity, we go, okay, you know, one day at a time. That's a 12-step slogan, but I think it's a very effective way and very useful way for anyone to live, is one day at a time.
Yeah. When you're ready, it'll happen, right? You know.
Well, when you do the necessary work, and, you know, is there an element of luck? I believe so. I think Jupiter, which, you know, sometimes symbolizes luck, but really what it is we're reaping the benefits of the karma that we already laid down. And so if you whatever you approach, whatever you build, you know, it gives you what you put into it. That's not just a cliche. I mean, it really, because what we put out comes back to us. So building a business, if we really put our heart and soul into it, and we did our work, you know, we can't help but be successful with it. Success isn't always measured in money. It might be measured in, you know, service, or, you know, how much we're helping people. There's all different ways you can talk about success. It's not just money.
But, you know, for me, you know, I was a musician. I wanted to be a filmmaker. I did learn how to do TV. All these things, different separate things I learned, all these different interests, all led up to me doing this show. Basically, my interest in the paranormal,
right?
You know, you know, made me be able to learn how to, you know, being a musician, let me learn how to do all the sound stuff. Being, you know, into video and film, learn how to do the webcast. You know, all that stuff came together to make this show. You know, you asked me when I was 20 years old, I'd be doing this. I would have said, heck no. You know,
Yeah,
time, you're a different person.
that's
20,
very
you know, 10 years later, or 20 years later.
That's a very good example. And yeah, everything that we are, that's why I said before, we are the sum total of every choice That's how powerful an individual is. And I think we don't realize that. We don't realize our own power, that we have a choice. In every turn, every situation, we have a choice that lies solely with us. And I constantly, when I do readings, a lot of times I remind people of the power of choice, that they have. And I will tell you that the spirit world reminds us of that too. There are people, readings I've done, and the person comes through with regrets. Oh, I wish, I never should have done that. I hurt people, or I hurt myself, or I made wrong choices. And they will come through and actually talk about the power of choice, and sometimes tell their family member, please choose differently than I did. Learn from my example.
Right.
So choice is very, very important. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, you take the, I think about, somebody in the chat room says, do we ever cover multiverse stuff? I'm a big believer in the parallel universes and multiverse idea. And I wonder if there's, certain decisions I made, if there's a timeline out there that I'm doing something bad, or I went down the wrong path. I believe that's how people can see the future, because you're on a certain path, and it most likely is going to lead this way. And you can get a glimpse of it, but there's still free will. You could still choose to go a different path. The future is always in motion, as the Master Yoda would say in Star Wars. I always make Star Wars references, at least once a show.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And again, we have these rough plans, these blueprints. Here's the design, much as if you're going to build a house, and my father built the first house that I lived in way back in 1960. And he designed the blueprints. So our life is like that too. This is what I'm going to be. This is the framework for my life. These are the lessons that I need to have. And the thing is, people get discouraged when the challenges come along. We were talking about astrology earlier. Saturn represents challenges, blockages, places where we're really going to have to work. Where that's placed in our birth chart, we can look at that and we can see, okay, that's why this has always been tough for me. There's something there that I didn't quite master when I was here before. So I'm picking up the lessons again. It doesn't mean we're a failure. It doesn't mean that we're not meant to do it. It's an evolution that we need to apply ourselves to. And then there's great rewards that come from that.
You ever seen the movie Defending Your Life?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
You should see that movie, because it's about, I think it was in the 90s it came out, but who's in it? Meryl Streep, I think, is in it. Yeah. And but the main character, he ends up dying, and he has to have a lawyer on the other side, like basically. But what they're going over is like these different decisions that he made in life, and like what did he learn, before he moves on to the next stage or wherever he's going, And that movie's always fascinated me, because it's like it makes you look back and think about, what have I learned from the things I've done and chose? Have I learned something? Was this choice set in front of me to be a lesson in life? It makes you think.
It does. And that sounds to me as if whoever wrote that script really knew about the other side, because we do have a life review, and we do look at how well we did. In my new book, I have a section called the Soul's Report Card. And what that is, we ourselves make that assessment. We see our life in panoramic view. We sit with our spirit guides, and we see the people that we touched, the people that we were in relationships with, how we made them feel, how we helped them, the service that we did. We see all of that. And so, what grade will we give ourselves? Will we give ourselves an A or an F, on whatever that lesson is? So, but yes, that really does happen.
There's some people that are just not self-aware of themselves and be like, yeah, I got an A. There's another show. There's a show called The Good Place. I love that show. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's this last season, they got a guy there. It's a complete jerk, self-centered. And on the other side, he thinks he's still the greatest thing ever. Nothing phases him.
Yeah.
There's-
Well, I think when we get over there, first off, you can't lie. Everybody's transparent. And actually, what's really cool, what I've seen through clairvoyance when I've been doing readings, is the intensity of the light around a soul. Now, usually that's souls in spirit. What does that mean? Well, the level of spiritual awareness that soul has. If it's a really bright light, to me, they were very pure. There was a very pure soul. They were loving. They were kind. They helped other people, and I've seen that around souls. Then there's people, the people that will come through, and they might be a little bit dimmer. They'll talk about their regrets. Boy, I wish I would have done that, or I could have done better in that department. There's all variations, and we are our judge and jury. We are the ones who take an assessment, and an honest assessment. So there's no room for I don't think there's any room for narcissism on the other side. Like you were describing.
Well, I've known some really narcissistic people there. We'll try hard to be narcissistic on the other side.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
We got somebody holding on the line. Just hold on there, because we're going to go to our last commercial break, and we'll bring that person that's holding on the line on for another reading from Carole. And the phone lines will be open. Just hang in there. Don't call in right now, because somebody's waiting on the line. But I'll let you, when you hear somebody hang up, that's when you want to try to call in. I only got the one line tonight, but we will be back after this short commercial break.
Intercepted transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. Now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
Again, this is the USS Montana requesting that you immediately divert your course 15 degrees to the north to avoid a collision. Over.
Please divert your course 15 degrees to the south to avoid collision.
This is Captain Hancock. You will divert your course. Over.
Negative, Captain. I'm not moving anything. Change your course. Over.
Son, this is the USS Montana, the second largest vessel in the North Atlantic Fleet. You will change course 15 degrees north, or I will be forced to take measures to ensure the safety of this ship. Over.
This is a lighthouse, mate. It's your call. Hello, Captain? I think he's gone. Fair enough.
For every Earthling who's ever dreamed of adventures beyond the stars comes the astonishing story of one who made it, Alex Rogan.
You have been recruited by the Star League to defend the frontier against Sur and the Kodan Armada.
Of all the life forms in all the galaxies, one has been chosen to be the last starfighter. The Last Starfighter, with the film of the #1 hit Do They Know It's Christmas, the official Band-Aid story. In the West End and across London now, rated PG.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
Tired of school?
Who was Joan of Arc?
Noah's wife? Like to travel?
Let's go back into history. Let's reach out and touch someone.
Want to meet people in the past?
Put them in the Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden? Excellent! Execute them, Otis.
Then hitch a ride with George Carlin, Keanu Reeves, and Alex Winter in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure from Orion Pictures.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do voices from beyond the cold case files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Heat 'em up. Do, re, be gone.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is spiritual medium Carole Obley. She's the author of I'm Still With You, True Stories of Healing Grief Through Spirit Communication. And man, she's blown me away tonight with these phone calls and readings. She hit it on the head for me personally about my past, my childhood. But I've heard her really hit it on the head with Callers Night. Really amazing stuff coming through. And you can call in. Just wait. I got somebody holding on line, so you might want to wait till this person get off. But the phone lines are open. 219-230-4444 or Skype ID 00JBland00. Just remember, if you call in and I hang up on you, it's because I got somebody else on the line. And just wait till we call on you. If we do pick up, you'll hear us talking. Wait till we call on you, and then have a specific question in mind. No medical questions and no legal questions. And we'll get about 3 or 5 minutes because we've got a half an hour left to show. I'm going to try to fit in as many calls as we can. So keep trying to call in. We will try to get you on here with Carole. She's doing an amazing job. So let's get back to the show. Thank you for sticking with me here tonight this late, Carole. You've been doing an amazing job, I have to say, on these readings tonight.
Oh, thank you. Well, I took a nice nap this afternoon.
In preparation. Yes, I have to do the show late because I have kiddos that if I did it any time earlier, you'd be hearing them constantly in the background. So it's late nights for the show. That's why. It's also just, what I grew up on talk radio. I like late nights. But we got somebody hanging out late with us here. It's been waiting on the phone line. We got 386 area code. Who do we got?
Hi, Jason, Jamie, Rob, and Carole. This is Debbie.
Hi, Debbie. Thanks for calling in.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Carole. Nice to get through to you.
Yes, thank you. How can I help?
Well, I have been going through a different kind of grief this year. My husband of 25 years left in June, and I didn't really see it coming. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't see that coming. And I did okay the first couple of months, little teary, but the last few months I've really been kind of stuck in a funk, and I've been developing my gifts over the last couple of years, my psychic and mediumship gifts, but in the last couple of months I really haven't been able to I've still been getting a lot of stuff psychically, but not so much connection with my guides and hearing things the way I was, or channeling or anything like that. And I know it's because my vibration is low, but anything positive that they might have to help me get through this, to move forward, and to get myself back going towards my life purpose again. Hello?
You still there, Carole?
Hello?
I hear you. I don't hear Carole.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Uh-oh. Are you there, Carole? Hold on. Let me try something. You still there, Carole? Oh, that's weird. But maybe it might be my phone connection, but she's not coming through on anything. Try reconnecting. You still there, Carole? Hello? Uh-oh. Hold on a second. Hold on, Debbie.
Okay.
Let me try calling her back.
Domino's Pizza.
Right?
Hello, this is Carole. To make a private appointment, please.
Okay, hold on a second, Debbie. Somehow we lost connection with her because now I'm getting her answer machine. So it wasn't my connection. I don't know what's going on. Hold on.
Okay.
Let's see, try calling her back.
Hello.
Hey, Carole, we lost you.
Yeah, I have no clue what happened. I don't know if that was on my end. I don't think it was, but
You were connected, but there was nothing there. I had the phone connected, and I tried calling you, and then I got your answering machine, or some kind of answering thing. That's weird.
Is Debbie still on the line?
She is still on the line.
Okay. Hi, Debbie. You mentioned about that
Hi,
you
Carole.
you didn't have you weren't able to tune into your abilities lately, or is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I've been getting I still get some clairvoyant flashes and psychic stuff, of things that have happened in the past, or of things of different places. But I'm not getting the mediumship stuff like I was getting. For a while there, I was even getting some voice channeling coming through every once in a while, which was new for me, but I was excited about it. And I was really, starting to build a connection with my guides and stuff, and that has just gone. And I want to get back to it, and I just want to be able to get out of this funk I'm in and keep moving forward. But I've really been grieving the last couple of months.
Okay.
Harder than I was.
That's probably why. I do feel as though your energy is down a bit, and sometimes when that stuff happens, well, oftentimes when things aren't clicking as far as intuitive ability, and particularly things like mediumship and so forth, it really is because we need to engage in self-care versus trying to connect with other realms and so forth. Sometimes we really need to keep our focus more at home and on ourselves. And then once we get back on our feet, I've had that happen, not in your particular circumstance, but I've had it happen in other ways. So the number one thing that can knock me out is a lot of emotional stress for me personally. So I very much try to eliminate any stress in my life, anything at all. But emotional stress is the number one thing that can do that. I would tell you to really, I would suggest to take some time and allow yourself to go through that. As far as the loss, I mean, the end of a marriage is just like a death. And you're saying he didn't pass, right? He left the marriage, right?
He left. Yeah, he basically abandoned me. He left and sent me a text that he had
Oh my
left.
God.
So, yeah.
Well, are you aware that there's somebody else in the picture?
I feel that there is. I have the gut instinct that there is. I've felt it multiple times. I've asked him multiple times, and every time he denies it emphatically, but I don't believe it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there is. There is.
Yeah.
There is. But, and I don't feel like he felt so much guilt that's why he couldn't be direct and honest. I would not be at all surprised if you don't continue to hear from him. And I would, he may even want to come back, but you're going to have to make that decision. I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. I feel very strongly that, that would be likely to occur. That's going to be up to you. But as far as your abilities are concerned, I would take care of myself, get stable emotionally. And that can be done in, a number of ways. Meditation, just focusing on stillness, mindful meditation, even going to therapy. I mean, psychotherapy can be helpful.
I have been, I have been doing some classes with a friend who's has a PhD in psychology and she's very spiritual as well, and she incorporates Kundalini meditations into her program, so that has been helping me. But that's once a week, and I do good for a couple of days, and then I just get into this funk again, and I'm just trying to get through this. I think when I have my connection with my guides stronger, I feel like I've got that love and support, and I know they're there. And I still get signs and synchronicities and stuff, but it's like losing your whole family all at once. The husband leaves, and then it's just like my connection just went shoop. I'm still getting a lot of psychic stuff and empath stuff, from other people, from living people, and from locations and situations. But the mediumship stuff is what has just come to a complete
Well, I'll tell you, mediumship really takes. It requires a very, very stable, how do I want to say it, life. I tell you, I can't, it really, really requires that. And I've learned that over the years. I go to bed at the same time every night, except when I'm doing these late night radio shows. I got another one coming up later on the week, but I eat completely differently than I used to. And it really requires a stability. So you can do it though, but take care of yourself right now. This is Spirit's way of saying it's time for you to, engage in this self-care. And I also like writing with you. I feel that you could do journaling and writing your feelings out. That will help with some of the confusion, the anger. You have a lot of feelings that come through you: anger, frustration, confusion, sadness. I mean, that can really take a toll on you. It's no wonder you're not getting a clear signal. It's almost like there's a umbrella over your antenna. You can't really get a clear signal. So take care of yourself first, and then go back and do it. I really do feel with you that you have an ability to help people. Mediumship is a pathway. Expect to, dedicate your life. It's a life of service. And I feel though with you, you're one of the few that I would say, mediumship has become very popular, especially since it's been on TV, but not everybody's cut out to do it. It really does take, it's not about making the money. It's about really dedicating yourself to service. And I also feel with you, you could do hands-on healing. I'd like to see you get into that too.
Yes, I do some, I send healing energy balls out to people from distance, but I've never taken a Sui Reiki yet, but I have my own way of just that I just kind of incorporated sending, like I connect with the archangels and I envision their color of ray to send specific types of healing, and I send that out to people. And I've even done a few where I put my hands on people and just envisioned it, and I do it with my cat as well. It's just something I did instinctively on my own, and then I learned about Reiki. So I'd like to learn that as well. But I do get my most joy in helping other people to heal and to feel better, and I know that's part of my life purpose is as a healer,
so you're very
I also
sensitive
really want to incorporate that.
Yeah, you're very sensitive, and you have to be careful with that too. I've lived all my life with sensitivity, and it's my greatest asset, but it's also my greatest liability at times. So I can't. I'm very much an introvert. I'm not a big people person of going out and late nights or parties and big crowds and all that kind of stuff. So you really have to take care of that. And I feel like I'm saying this for some of Jason's other listeners tonight, that probably have that level of sensitivity as well. It's not that we're better than anybody. It's not that at all. It's just that you have to know how you're built. And alone time is absolutely necessary. I spend a long time alone, even though I'm married. I spend a lot of time reading and doing different things, alone. So just know that, and you'll be back on your feet, but give it time.
Well, thank you, Debbie, for calling in.
Okay, well, thank you, Colin. Thank you so much for taking my call, and thank you so much, Carole. I greatly appreciate it.
Okay, Debbie.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
One of the things too, I mean, you talk about her signals being blocked. What if your signals like on? I mean, do you have to shut yourself down at times? I mean, you see like the psychic, you see these medium shows and they're like walking up to people in the street like, oh, I see your dead grandma and all that stuff. I'm like, really? I mean, like you got to have the time to shut it off, don't you?
Well, let me tell you something about reality shows, because I was involved in one. I'm not going to say which one, but they're not reality.
Right.
And they actually, people don't know that when they watch it, but I can tell you they're not. And the readings that you see that, like Long Island Medium or whatever, that's walking in and, going through a drive-through and, oh, somebody's spouse here has died. No legitimate medium, and I'm not saying she isn't, but really, that's a good way to get sick and a good way to get drained, to be on all the time. But remember, she's doing it for the camera because it's a show.
Right.
So, I mean, we don't know what she does in her private life. If nobody could always be on.
Right.
I'd be very amazed. And really, you got to know your own boundaries when you're doing this work. You really should not be... Well, I detach and ground myself after every reading.
Look at Edgar Cayce. So, he did so many readings, and he was told by his own, by his own reading to stop. You need to only do one a day. And he had so many people.
He didn't pay attention, and he got into trouble. He actually died early.
Yeah.
And because it does use mediumship, especially trance, like he was doing, it uses. But even what I'm doing, it uses energy of the medium. So you really have to be, cognizant of that, and it takes a lot of self-knowledge. I'm not trying to put anything on a pedestal at all, but I'm being very
there's dangers.
Real and honest about the work, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about this work out there. I think John Edward has done a good job of, when he was first on, of being honest about it. But unfortunately, some of the reality shows, because I know people believe that, because I've been asked, they'll say, do you go out to dinner and you see people, I'm like, no, because I'm not in that frame. I haven't turned that switch on.
Right. You have to, you go out and live your life. And when it's time to put on that hat, you do.
Yeah, and we're meant to. And I mean, there's certain things, there's a code of ethics in mediumship.
Right.
I mean, you don't go up to people just and read them without asking them. That's an invasion of privacy.
That's what I thought about, though, when they do that. We do have somebody else waiting on the line I want to get to before we run out of time. 281 area code. Who do we got?
This is Rhodey.
Hey, Rhodey. My paranormal
Hi, honey.
mama.
How are you? That's right. Yep, yep. Hi, Carol. Hey, Jamie, Rob. Should I just start talking? You know me, Jason. Should I start?
Well, specific question, Rhodey, and no legal, no
I
medical.
know. Yeah. I know that. Yeah. Okay. Just real quick. I'm going on 61. I've only been believing in this or doing it about 8 years, and it's evolved as I've done it. But so my question is, I started a meditation group 3 months ago. I'm in one. We're trying to prove a hypothesis. So I've been more in touch with trying to get in touch. So my question would be, I don't still sense or feel anything. Do you sense or feel anyone around me that maybe, I don't know, has a message for me? I don't really have a specific question. Just, is there anyone around me? Do they have maybe a message for me?
Yeah, I feel it to be more of a spirit guide than a loved one. And it has to do with what you're doing. And that is, you mentioned meditation. I feel like your spirit guide is helping you develop these, what are called chakra or energy centers. And particularly the third eye, that's right there on your between your physical eyes. It's called the brow chakra or the third eye, and then the crown with you. And I don't know if you've actually noticed anything physically in your body going on in those areas, but I'm really seeing a lot of development there with those chakra opening up. So the meditation group, I think, is excellent for you. This is where you need to be. This is your next step. And I actually feel with you that you're a sensitive person. You could actually, probably give messages, but I really like you a lot with doing healing. So I don't know if you've ever done anything like hands-on or looked into Reiki, but I feel that you could be quite effective with that. And also, do you like animals?
Oh my God! Yes, I volunteered at animal shelter, and I've recently tried putting my hands on them to keep them. Well, yes, ma'am, I do love animals. Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to tell you something. You would be excellent with Native American with that past life stuff. Yeah, see, I'm already starting to get into who's there. You would be excellent with animals.
You're nailing it.
There is
a
Native.
Yes, ma'am.
There is a Native American spirit guide. That sounds hokey, but truly, there's a Native American guide who helps you. You actually had several incarnations that you were Native American, or you could have possibly been in Canada but a tribal sort of energy. Now, also, I'm picking something up there that you have something in your lineage with Native American. Do you have any ancestry that was Native?
Not that I know, but I am so drawn to them and have been since I did the paranormal. I just can't believe what's coming out of your mouth. But I don't know if I have any. I'm just white, I think.
Okay, you do.
I can't believe I'm speechless. You're nailing this stuff. Wow.
I feel like it's distant as far as the Native blood, but you definitely have had lifetimes doing that. And there's an owl that is, this sounds so crazy, but there's an owl who's a spirit guide for you. He's a bringer of wisdom and he's a messenger. And I feel with you that you have great healing capacity as far as helping animals, particularly. And you can actually feel what's going on with them. Yeah. So, and gosh knows they need you. There's so many animals in shelters. I'm passionate about animals. I do charity work for animals. I donate all the money. I love you working with the animals. I think that's you really need to look into doing that. And there's also a wolf with you. It's a spirit guide. It's a wolf. So these are kind of, do you resonate with the wolf?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I do. I'm sorry, I'm blown away. I'm usually not speechless. I don't have words to say. Jason and Jamie can show you. You're nailing everything. This is
Rhodey's a tough cookie.
unbelievable. Wow. Wow. I know. Oh my God, Carole, thank you. You nailed everything, and Jamie could just thank you. And I'm going to continue on this path. I'm really blown away by you. And I have a good friend who's a medium, and so I'm pretty little harsh judging people that say they are. And ma'am, you've nailed it with me tonight. Thank you so much.
Oh,
you don't
good.
know how
Well,
much
thank you
validation
so much.
you're giving me. Oh, thank you very much. I just appreciate you so much. I'm going to have to get one of your books now. So, okay.
You're a very pure soul.
She is.
You're a very pure soul. And you've actually lived kind of like 10 lifetimes in one. Does that make sense to you?
Well, yeah, I've done a lot of, yes, ma'am. It does indeed. Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Again, you're nailing it. Wow. Well, Carole, I know there's
thank
time
you
for
so
probably
much
one
for
more
calling
else,
in.
Thank you. I'm going to probably contact you, privately. So, I just want to
free
thank
to
you
do
so
that.
much. Wow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rhodey.
I will, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks, Jason. Bye, guys. Bye, Cocoa Bean.
Rhodey's my paranormal mama. That's what I call her.
What? A lovely soul.
She one of the first mediums I ever had on the show is a good friend of hers and mine is Katrina Cooper, and Rhodey, when she first met her, was like very aggressive and like, I don't believe in it, blah blah. And Katrina, of course, did Katrina's thing and and convinced Rhodey. Rhodey's a tough cookie to crack when it comes to making her believe. So yeah, you really nailed it for her. You nailed it with a lot of callers tonight. Are really amazing. I'm blown away.
Thank you so much for inviting me on and having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
I have to ask you one little. Did you get any past life things from me besides the Atlantean thing? I'm just curious.
Yeah, there was something in the Celtic area. You may have even been connected with the Druids. I don't know do you know anything about them? If not, I would tell you to look them up on the internet. They were basically, they were pagan, but they very much resonated with nature.
Oh, man.
They were also musicians and poets. So there may have been a short lifetime there, but I feel like
that's really relevant to like really recent thing that I did. But it's
with the Druids.
Well, with the magic part.
Okay.
I got involved in doing getting into. My wife's always been into the pagan ritual and magic, and I decided to try my hand in it. And I got really into it, and it felt so natural to me. So when you say that, that really resonates hard right now. And the music thing, because I was a musician back in the day and sang and wrote songs and all that, but that recently really played into like, wow, this feels like this is something that might be past life for me, that I'm really like, it all comes really natural to me.
Well, the theme that I see kind of playing out is some diversity with you as far as experiencing a lot of different things. And, experiences, talents, that's cultures. So you've really come in this time to, use some Gemini curiosity and so forth. I think that's working in your way, much to your advantage. And do you happen to know what your rising sign in your chart is?
No, I said, I'm awful at astrology.
Yeah, that tells a lot too, because that actually bleeds into the 12th house of the horoscope. The 12th house is intricately connected with past life. It's planets that might appear there, can give a clue to what we've done. And sometimes
I'm really curious to find out.
Yeah, well, maybe at some point we'll look into that. Or if you ever want to have me back on, I can talk more about the Akashic files and past life stuff. But it's truly fascinating. And I think that when we really know what we're here to learn and sometimes we can be encouraged too and say, oh, okay, this is just like part 2 of the lesson I started in, in another lifetime.
That's what it seems like.
And with you, I think, yeah, there's been a lot of, like, I'm going to test this, I'm going to test that, I'm going to do this. And, Gemini by nature is curiosity. It's mental curiosity, communication, writing. I wouldn't be surprised at some point if you don't write
I used to, right? And I got people encourage me to write again.
Yeah. So there's a lot there with you. So you brought a lot back this time.
It would make sense. Well, thank you again, Carole, so much. Soul website is soulvision.net, right?
Oh, there's an S on the end. Soulvision.
Soulvisions.net. I got it up on the screen here, actually. I'm looking right at it. And I still
.net. Yeah, thank you. And all of my books, by the way, are available on Kindle. And the new one coming out, too, they're all on audio, on Kindle.
What's the name of the new book coming out?
The new book is called Wisdom from the Spirit World, Life Teachings on, I can't get the full subtitle correct on my own book, Peace, Forgiveness, Love, and Finding Purpose. And these are all things that, through thousands of readings, I've learned that I wanted to pass on to other people and hopefully give them some insight.
You still there, Carole?
I am.
Oh, I thought you got quiet there. I thought we lost you right at the end. I'm like, don't tell me no.
No, I hope not again.
Because I want to say, I definitely want to have you back on the show again. You were amazing, amazing readings tonight. So we definitely have to do this again, Carole.
Thank you so much. And I'm glad that my publicist from my book publisher contacted you, and he's a great guy.
Oh,
too.
Gavin Lee Davies is one of my favorite guests we've had on the show from very back in the day.
Wonderful. He's a wonderful human being.
He is.
Yes.
And thank you, Gavin, because you were wonderful tonight. But that is it for the show, guys. We will be back next Sunday, same bad time, same bad channel, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Central, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific time. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe, follow. Don't forget we have a Patreon, too. You can donate $2 a month. That does help us with the cost of the show. Anything you can do to help, that's great. But the best thing you can do is share the show out. Tell all your friends about Paranormal Soup. Let them know I had somebody call the wrong phone line and got somebody to listen in. Thank you, John, for calling the wrong line and getting me a new listener. That's awesome. But all right, guys, we will be back next week with another medium, Debbie Anderson. This will be like her third time, I think, on the show. We're going to talk about her Oracle deck. Hold on. I got it right here. I got her new Oracle deck. Let's see, right there. I've never done an Oracle deck. I've done tarot and all that. I'm really interested to learn about Oracle decks from Debbie, so we'll have her on to talk about that next week. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Everybody have a great night.